Stand by to launch FanStream Sports.
3, 2, 1. Let's start.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome to FanStream Sports. Nothing but pure sports. This is the JP Show.
JP, it is so good to hear you back on the air.
Stand by. Now, here's JP.
All right, welcome into a bitchin' mode Monday, which has become the norm here in Buccaneer land as the Bucs fall again and another woeful performance. I don't know how the hell they make these games close because they're not, but they make them close. Thus is the NFL. We got a big weekend of college football to talk about. It was an interesting FSU Florida game, full of drama and great storylines. We'll get to that. The Bolts get a huge win and their swagger back behind Vasy. How about that? They 8-2 pasting of Carolina. The NFL is a disaster. Carolina just fired their coach, which means they're going to beat the Bucs this week. So much to get into this morning as we join you. We thank you so much for jumping in here to the JP Peterson Show. However you are listening, on Apple, on Spotify, on YouTube, on Twitter, wherever we find you. Thanks so much for joining us. I'll say good morning to you, Nick Geddes from On3 Sports. I know you had a good weekend as UCF got bowl eligible, as did USF, with a huge win for them. So we don't want to leave out the Bulls. That was a momentous occasion for them. So lots to get into, and we'll do it all today. How you doing?
I'm doing so much better than Todd Bowles' job security today. Yes.
Yeah.
Man.
He's the only one that Frank Reich's not the only one that should have been fired in the NFC South.
I'll let you hit your opening monologue here in a second, but all I'll say is shame on me for trying to convince myself that the Buccaneers were going to put away the Colts and they're going to put away the Panthers and they're going to get back to 6-6. I've watched this team long enough, okay, and saved 3 glorious years, 2.5 years really, with the GOAT at the quarterback position. Oh my goodness, this is who the Bucs are, man. This is just who they are. It is a stench. They can't get rid of it. It lingers. We're right back to where we were before the Tom Brady era began. We are right back there, and that just sucks. That sucks. That was awful yesterday. Awful.
Yeah. It's it is awful, and it's all starts at the top. It's exactly what we said it was going to be in the last few weeks. I mean, I was kind of, I don't want to say I was fooled about this team going into the season because I did think that they had the roster to be an NFC South champion, and God forbid they still could be. But the thing that I said, and you'll remember this, Nick, was what? The biggest question mark is Todd Bowles as a head coach. Like, how does he manage these games? How does he coach his team? Does the accountability go up? Does the team get better as the season goes on, or does it get worse? So that's all on the head coach and the coaching staff in general. And my biggest fear has come to fruition. Todd Bowles is an awful head coach. He's an awful defensive coordinator right now, by the way. He's terrible at that as well. This team is going nowhere, absolutely freaking nowhere. They need a complete teardown and rebuild. And, you can say, and I mentioned this yesterday to some guys we were chatting with, is boy, would sure be nice to have that first round pick for Mike Evans. I don't know if that actually happened. It was wildly reported that the Jets offered a first round pick for Mike Evans. We don't know if that's true, but I said it 3 weeks ago, and I said you should have taken it. Should have taken it because this team was going nowhere, and Mike Evans could still re-sign with you, by the way, at the end of the season. And you'd be sitting there with 2 first-round picks, probably both in the top 10, maybe certainly in the top 15, ready to rebuild this team the way Houston has with a franchise quarterback and an edge rusher. But you're not, and so you'll have at least one top 15 pick, hopefully. And maybe that's a quarterback. Maybe you can get a quarterback in the second round. I mean, look at me.
They got the seventh pick right now, JP.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's fine. So go get your franchise quarterback. Put Kyle Trask in. It's Trask time. Baker Mayfield's going to do nothing for you. And I'm not saying this is all on Baker. It certainly is not on Baker. It starts with Todd Bowles. And I'm just going to get into it here, Nick, just simply by saying that you start the game. I mean, I'm sitting here literally going through this tape, laughing my ass off, because you come out, you start the game with all of your corners 10, 15 yards off. And what do the Colts do? They literally just go, okay, you on the outside, just go 7 yards and turn around. I'll throw it to you. Okay, you good? All right. Okay. Next play. You go. Just turn around. Okay, good. You just turn around. Okay. Well, at some point we got to run at 45 because this is the easiest money in. All right, let's go ahead and hand it off to Jonathan Taylor. 9 yards. Okay, good. What else do we want to do? You start the game in such a soft mindset defensively, just completely soft. And for two complete possessions, you just let the Colts do whatever the F they want to do. Like, you don't even make it hard for them. And you just start the game that way. Your players are just like, what do we, okay. I mean, you're not even giving us a chance, coach. And a couple times they mix in press, and what do? At least they make the Michael Pittman makes a crossing route catch, and at least it was hard. At least he had to throw a perfect pass, and he had to run and make a good catch. At least there's some competition going on. But in the first 2 drives, there's no competition. You just got to hand the ball off to Jonathan Taylor, and 45 is just, again, I hate to come on here like a broken record, and my God, we're going to write an entire story about his injury and say this is why he's terrible? We've been saying it for 4 years. The guy's awful. He's awful. And now we're going to say, oh, he's got a bad foot. If you got a bad foot, get the hell out of the game. If you can't go one-on-one with Gardner Minshew at the goal line and overrun the play again. Oh, was that his injury or the fact that the dude has never shown any fundamentals whatsoever on breaking down, tackling a guy, getting your head across the body, and putting him in the freaking turf? We're going to say, oh, it's his foot injury and I can't stop. Oh, has it been that way for 4 years? Since the Super Bowl? Has your foot been injured? Because you've been doing that for 4 years.
It was right from the beginning, JP. The first drive, when they marched right down the field, and they handed off to Jonathan Taylor. Now, Jonathan Taylor is one of the best running backs in the league. But if you want to be paid like one of the best linebackers in the league, you got to stick him in the hole. Yeah. And on that long run, I think he had a 20-yard run to set up the touchdown. Devin White just completely gets bullied, pushed like 10 yards back, can't get off a block.
He always does.
He always does.
Foot injury, Nick.
And then,
so mean.
You know what? If you're out there, you're out there. And I'm going to judge your play.
Exactly.
And then the next play there at the goal line, Jonathan Taylor gets met to, it's 1v1. Devin White versus Jonathan Taylor. It's Will versus Will right there. Who wants it more? And Devin White just whiffs.
Yeah, whiffs.
He just whiffs. And then on the next scoring drive,
terrible fundamentals, overruns the play. Terrible.
And then on the next drive, Gardner Minshew, broken play, running towards the pylon. Devin White comes screaming in, terrible angle, just overrunning it.
Doesn't break down.
Gardner,
control.
It's like Gardner freaking Minshew jukes you out. It's like if Patrick Mahomes does it, okay, I still want you to make the play, but I can live with it because that guy's Houdini. Right. Gardner freaking Minshew.
Yeah.
Puts you into the first row.
Yeah.
This guy, again, I've been saying it, he's overpaid at 11.75 or whatever it is this year.
Ridiculously overpaid.
I don't see any way this guy gets a single offer from this Bucs team. He should be gone immediately after this season. And at this point,
he'll be gone when Todd leaves.
And at this point, I got to see Vasy Dennis play in this game next to Devin White because Levante David was not there. And my goodness, Levante David, his case to just come back on another bridge deal, 3-year deal, is if he wants to keep playing, it just went up. It just went up.
Give him the freaking Devin White money.
But I saw Vasy Dennis, and listen, I'm not going to act like Vasy Dennis, played a great game or anything like that. But you know what? I saw that guy showing more of a will to get out there and make plays.
Off blocks.
I saw him force a
tackle, but he got off the block.
I saw him almost force a fumble. It was called an incomplete pass. He stripped it out of Michael Pittman's hands and prevented a first down. I saw that. I don't see that from Devin White. I mean, at this point, what do you got to lose, man? Just start over. Don't even sit this guy down a little bit, and let's build towards the guys who are going to be here next year.
Yeah,
when it comes to Devin White,
you know what?
He's killing your team.
Get him off the field. Get him off the field. No need for him to play. You're a better team without him. You can't be worse. He never makes a play. Literally never makes a play. There was one play he did make, which should have been defensive pass interference when he cut a guy off while the ball was in the air. But at least we'll give him an effort for trying. And this goes back to Bowles, because Bowles is the one that keeps putting him out there and putting a C on his chest. And I've been talking about this all year long. I know you guys seeing this as a broken record, but it's almost unbelievable that dumbass radio guy and everybody else in the media can see it, but the head coach won't do anything about it.
Right. And by the way, competition helps.
That's
a
right.
wake-up call helps. And you want to know an example of that yesterday? Yaya Diaby got the start over Joe Tryon-Shoyinka yesterday.
Yep.
Now, Yaya was pretty quiet, but you know who had a sack? Joe Tryon-Shoyinka.
Yeah, that was on Minshew though. If I can, nice little game.
Hey,
goes to
I'm
the
just.
outside.
I gotta
He made
look.
the play.
I need something out of Joe Tryon-Shoyinka. He made the play.
He didn't beat
made the play.
anybody to get it, but
I get it. I'm just pointing it out. Joe Tryon-Shoyinka was he had his starting job taken away from him yesterday, and he ended up making a sack. My point is that competition is a good thing. Sending a message to some of these guys, I think, is a good thing. But as usual, it takes this coaching staff more than halfway through the season to make changes. And here you are at 4-7. It's over. It is completely over. They're going nowhere. And, you know, I know a lot of people are putting their frustration towards Baker Mayfield. Let me just say this about Baker. I thought he made some big-time throws yesterday.
He did.
The fourth down after Todd Bowles decides not to challenge an obvious catch to Mike Evans. That's inexcusable.
What was that? Again, game management.
And Mike Evans, you're the greatest player we've ever had on offense. Hall of Famer is throwing his hand up in the air like, challenge that. I caught it. And Todd Bowles is just sitting there.
Well, you got to keep those. Timeouts to take home with you.
I forgot those roll over in the next game. I forgot. But
come on, Nick.
But Baker Mayfield comes back.
You got to challenge that at that point of the game. You have to challenge it because it's such a big part of the game, and you end up, you have to get the fourth down. Great throw and great catch by Godwin.
Yeah, he throws a seed to Godwin, and then he throws the touchdown on the run there on the left when he rolled out. Beautiful throw to Mike, who beat his man easily. Love that. Yep. So I thought he made some big-time throws. He also had a big third-down conversion he picked up on a run. He went in there. He got up. Like Baker Mayfield, he had the ankle injury earlier. He came back in, fought through it. We're going to have to monitor that because, of course, he was on adrenaline, and now it might swell up. Who knows? But I'm never going to question that guy's toughness.
Nope.
He always wants to win the game. You never have to question that. He makes some plays. He's going to make some maddening plays as well, and that was the pick that he threw into triple coverage. He was sacked 6 times. I said yesterday it was probably 3 or 4 that I thought he kind of held onto the ball too long. Maybe it was 2. I don't know. The thing with Baker, though, and people saying that, we have to go draft a franchise quarterback, and they may very well do that if it's a new regime and they have a top 10 pick.
You have a top 10 pick in this class. You got
My point though is the Bucs, at least this year, Baker Mayfield is like not even in like my top 5 of like problems with this football team. They have some glaring holes in other areas, and that's what makes it tough. That's like
I agree with you.
They're 4-7, and I'm not even going to point to the quarterback play. It kind of reminds me.
I'll say this: the first interception was god awful. I have no idea what he was thinking or where he was going with that ball. That cost you 7 points early on. Okay, so that's a bad play. They're down on the goal line in the third, and they when they kick the field goal to get to 20. He's got Godwin wide ass open in the end zone and just ends up eating the ball. You got to make that throw. That was they went trips left, and Baker just stared down Mike. He was looking for Mike the whole time. Never looked at Godwin, which I think is the first interception he was throwing the ball to Evans. So I don't know what the hell happened on that play if Evans ran a bad route or what. But I think that's on Baker. I don't know. We don't know. But when you're trying to force the ball to Mike, and that you can't do that. Godwin needs more targets, for God's sake.
I can't figure it out. And the first play of the game, they gave him a nice screen.
He's a $20 million receiver, and he's wide open in the end zone. You got to read that play. That's a basic read, and he's wide open, and you got to throw the ball on time, and that's a touchdown, and it's an easy pitch and catch. Baker didn't do that. The fumble at the end, Wirfs gets beat. What are you going to do on that? I'm not going to put that on Baker. For the most part, but Baker did not have his greatest game. But Dave Canales, look, you don't get the sneak. And by the way, I thought you might have. It's hard to challenge those sneaks. I thought Baker got in. To be quite honest. And you bring Trask in, and you're inches away from the goal line, and you go shotgun. What the hell are you doing?
Hey.
And then you get a false start penalty. I'm here to tell you. If you run another quarterback sneak at that point, I don't think you're going to get a false start because they never call false starts on quarterback sneaks. You got to sneak the ball in there 3 times.
For what it's worth.
You don't go back to shotgun.
For what it's worth, Kyle Trask threw a beautiful ball. I mean, you could.
It was a little late. It was a little late.
I don't know about that.
Ball.
That was a tight window. That was a tight window,
Yeah,
and that was a beautiful ball.
But that extra hitch makes Godwin 4 or 5 yards closer to the boundary, where you got to be worried about your feet.
I don't know. Coming off cold, not having thrown a pass all year. Good throw.
It's a good throw. But if you're being honest about it, you got to throw it a little bit earlier. But good throw, great throw. But listen, so it's not on Baker, and I don't say this, with any, because Baker, I agree with you. He's not the reason that this team is losing. Okay, it starts right at the top with Todd Bowles and the crappy defenses he calls and the crappy game management that he has, and just the tone that he sets for this team. Soft. Let's come out and just back up. Listen, from the start of the game, let's just back up and just give them everything. And what I'm so sick of that mentality. I don't care if you get beat in press coverage. At least try to play competitive football. Don't just give them pitch and catch. And then in the run game, man, it's so easy. It's just
they make it easy. They make it easy on every quarterback around the league. And it's not like Gardner was great yesterday by any means. He threw a pick.
He was borderline terrible.
He threw a pick. Winfield dropped one. I'm still not sure how he didn't hold on to that. But the run game.
By the way, Carlton Davis's pick. I hate that. I feel like I'm nitpicking even the good plays.
Hey, caught the
Gardner
ball.
Minshew throws it right to you, and you fall to the ground. I mean, that's a pick six. That is the easiest pick six in history. And you got to cradle the ball. You're not athletic enough at a $17 million corner to bend your knees, catch the ball, and walk into the end zone? We're paying you that much money for a guy to throw you the ball and you cradle it? What are you doing?
Yeah, it's a fair point. I'm just happy he caught the ball. The standards aren't high.
Exactly. That's where we're at. Like you're sitting out there at the 25-yard line. A guy literally, you're not even moving because you're playing zone. He throws you the ball, and instead of catching it and running it into the end zone like a peewee football player, you cradle it and go to the ground. I mean,
yeah. And how about the fourth down? The fourth down late in the game, I think it was like 4th and inches or 4th and 1, and they bring out, I think, their linebacker Zaire Franklin as a 6th lineman, sell the run, and the Bucs clearly are all sold on the run, and they do that nice little fake or whatever, and Mo Alley Cox is running wide open down the field. It's just plays like that where Todd Bowles, it's like this is an experienced Super Bowl winning defensive coordinator here. These guys have played 5 seasons, and we still have busting coverages, and we're getting out-coached by first-time head coaches. And this is not the first time. First-time head coach DeMeco Ryans, first-time offensive coordinator Bobby Slowick in Houston ran circles around Todd Bowles' defense. And Shane Steichen, even with subpar quarterback play yesterday with Gardner Minshew, still found a way to put up 27 and out-coach Todd Bowles offense on defense. I mean, this is the stuff that's going to get this guy canned. It's pretty much inexcusable. There's no way back from this. And this team's getting worse, JP. This team is getting worse. We talked about how the second half of the season was going to light up a little bit, and you're going to face some of these quarterbacks who are a little subpar. But the thing is, we're at the point now where these teams that aren't very good, they're circling the Bucs on their calendar as well. Like Carolina next week, now with the new head coach and everything, they happened last year, interim head coach, and they beat the Bucs. I mean, here we go. We're round 2. They're circling this calendar as, man, we're going to get right this time. That's where this team is at right now. There's no more. We're no longer penciling in wins. We're not doing any of that. They'll be hard pressed to win a game moving forward. The way they're playing right now.
Yeah, they've lost 6 of 7. They should lose the
6
rest.
6 of 7. This is a bad football team.
And this is because as teams get tape on the Buccaneers, and the Buccaneers go through the season with this soft ass Todd Bowles as coach, soft practices, no attention to detail, no accountability. It's just like I said last year, Dallas to Dallas. Look at the team. Great in the beginning of the year. You still got some residue from the Bruce Arians day. By the end of 1 year with Todd Bowles, they're flat garbage at the end of the year. And Dallas goes from getting their ass kicked in game 1 on their own field to laughing at us on our own field at the end. And that's I'm sorry. And we love Todd Bowles as a human being, but that's who he is as a head coach. That's what you get. As this season started 3-1, well, look what you get as teams get tape on you. And that Mo Alley Cox play, that's no accident. Who are they targeting? 45 and 24. 45 and 24. We know these are probably the dumbest 2 football players on the field. And here we go. All we got to do is like, hey, you block down. Nobody's going to go with you. They're going to sell out for the run. This is the dumbest football team. Don't worry about it. I'm shocked they didn't score on the play. I mean, just so dumb. So the players have no football IQ because they're not being coached detailed. And they're not being coached accountability. It's god awful. And that's why I said they were going to lose this week easily. And it wasn't as close as the score would indicate.
And the clock management issues. And this is not just Todd Bowles, by the way. This is Dave Canales as well. Yeah. These two guys have no of what the clock is, the sense of urgency that has to take place in some of these moments. When you're down in the game, there's not much time. And I take you to the last drive where the Bucs got a stop on the Colts defense. There was 3:11 on the clock, JP.
Yep.
There was 3:11.
Yep.
You stopped them on third down. They got a punt. Why are you not calling a timeout right there? You let them take it all the way down.
40 seconds.
You wasted 40 seconds, and now you got the ball back with 2:11, I believe it was. They run a play, and then they hurry up trying to get a play out before the 2-minute warning. Rashad White, to me, didn't look like he was showing much sense of urgency to get set, and he gets called for an illegal shift. And it negates a first down and puts you behind the 8 ball there on your final thing. So if you're rushing on that final drive, guess what? You didn't have to rush if you would have called the timeout properly with 3:10 or whatever it was left on the clock after your defense made a stop that made the biggest stop of the game to that point and gave your offense a chance to go and tie the game.
Yep.
But you're not calling a timeout. Wait, why? Why are these things still happening for Todd Bowles? This is year 6 of him being a head coach in this league. This is his second year of being with this team. This guy's a Super Bowl winning defensive coordinator. I know he knows football, okay? Way more than I know, way more than you know, anybody listening to this show knows. Why are these things still happening at this point in the season?
Because Todd is not a head coach. He's just not. And I don't know how much more evidence you need.
But the thing that's funny about this too, it's not funny actually, but it's crazy to think about, and this is when I go to Canales. The first play when they got the ball back, by the way, with 2:11 or whatever it was, they call a run play. Like, okay, let's just take more time off the clock at that point. Why? I can't wrap my head around it. This has got to be the worst. I don't watch all the other 31 teams very closely, so forgive me, but I focus on this one, and you show me a worse team at managing the clock and timeouts than this football team.
Terrible. Five straight weeks he took 3 timeouts to halftime. I mean, just absolutely no creativity, no ingenuity, no modern thinking whatsoever. He's a defensive coach stuck in 1985, and he protects his players in the press and at practice. He's just not a head coach. And look at his demeanor on the sideline. And I understand there are some coaches that have that demeanor that get it done. But he doesn't even look like he's actively into the game half the time. It's just like and you exude that. You miss challenges. You're not aggressive with your challenges. Yeah, he went for it on 4th and 10. You had to. I mean, at that point, you had to, because your defense can't stop anybody. Your defense can't. I know the who was doing the game yesterday? Spiro and
Charles Davis, right?
No, it wasn't Charles Davis. I forget. Anyway, I thought he did a fantastic job, and he pointed out how bad Devin White is. While all
but then he goes after he had the whiff on Minshew, he goes, "Man, that's a play you've always seen Devin White make before."
No, Spiro said that.
No, he hasn't.
The analyst was dragging him, and then the play-by-play goes, "Yes, but he's made those plays." I'm like, "No, he hasn't.
He has not.
No, he hasn't.
No, he has not."
It's so incredible how a narrative gets going on a guy, and people don't look at the tape and just see it's just awful. I know it looks like we pick on Devin White. And
he makes it easy. Like, I'm not trying to pick on him. Your play is your play.
He's the manifestation of what's wrong with this football team. About guys that they're still living on the Super Bowl, that aren't playing, that continue get allowed. You're either coaching it or you're allowing it, and that's what Todd Bowles does.
Right.
And Adam Archuleta, was
Adam Archuleta, right?
And I thought he was really, really good. I thought he was really, really good yesterday, and he didn't buy into the Devin White narrative. He pointed out his mistakes all the time. So I appreciate that.
And again, Pro Football Focus is what it is, but you know what? Devin White, and I'm sure it got lowered even worse yesterday. He's 81 of 81 at the inside linebacker position in the NFL.
Yeah, and
81 of 81.
And they'll trot him out next week, and he's injured. I'm sorry for
Listen,
that.
I don't care. Listen, if you're out there then I'm going to judge your play as if you're good enough to play. You're healthy enough to play. Everyone's banged up. My point there, and this is why I'm not going to play favorites here. Tristan Wirfs is an elite left tackle in this game.
Yeah.
Okay? Tristan Wirfs is probably playing out there injured, but you know what? He's out there, and I've seen him now give up 3 sacks in 2 weeks. Very uncharacteristic. I'm not going to sit here and spend 5 minutes breaking down Tristan Wirfs' play, but I'm going to say we're going to keep it consistent. Tristan Wirfs did not play good yesterday. That has to be one of the worst games I've seen him play.
Well, listen, if you've been on a championship team, and a lot of these guys have, and you know what championship level play is and what championship level coaching is, you see what's going on, and it's hard to stay motivated. You know, Ekuban's Ekuban, I'm not sure how you say Ekuban, whatever.
Samson Abukum.
He's a good player. Buchan, right? He's a good player, and he played at San Francisco. He knows how to rush the passer. He plays with energy, and I think right now, if you're Tristan Wirfs, you're just like, for who, for what, man? This is just, get me through the season. There's a guy that's probably playing at about 60, 70% and still doing a hell of a job, but he's gonna get beat every now and then, and I'm so over this team. It's time to rebuild. Everything you do from here on in should be about next year. Sorry. I do not want to hear, oh, you're a game out. Who gives a shit? So you can get a playoff game? First of all, you're not getting a playoff game. You're not beating the Saints. You're not beating anybody. This team is terrible. It's terrible. I'm shocked that they stay as close as they do, to be quite honest. And that's because of Mike Evans making plays. But by the way, Mike Evans, first series, you're running a fly route, right?
Yeah.
You're running the ball. You're running down the field. You don't look for the ball until the 5-yard line, and then you look up, and the ball's perfectly thrown.
Yeah, he threw it right to where if he turns to his left, it's where only he could get it.
This is what makes me crazy about Mike. He's such a great receiver, but sometimes he runs lazy routes. He doesn't get his head around, and that was a perfect example. He doesn't turn and look for the ball until he's at the 7-yard line. You're running a 40, 50-yard route. You got to turn your head at about the 10 or the 12, start looking for the football so you can adjust and make the play. And he does this a lot. And Baker's like, what are you doing, dude? How do you not catch that ball?
Just in general, and now this is where the offense comes into play. You want to talk about shooting yourself in the foot and missed opportunities. I mean, look no further. Baker throws an absolute seed over the middle of the field to Trey Palmer on like a deep post, I think it was, or a slant. Yeah. I mean, you can't throw it any more better than that. Yeah. I mean, you really can't. And if Trey Palmer catches that football, he might be going in for 6 with the momentum that he had. Yep. And he drops it.
With his speed,
drive killer. Drive killer. And this is the one thing right now with the Bucs offense. They don't have a reliable third target on this football team. They just don't. And by the way, your second most reliable target, and in some cases he's been your best because up until yesterday, he had 2 drops yesterday, I think. He hadn't dropped the ball all season, is Chris Godwin. And you mentioned it, JP. It's like, we got to get this guy involved more. 3 catches for 45 yards and 7 targets. And this is a recurring theme. Chris Godwin, I mean, when was the last time he had more than 60 receiving yards in a game or something?
He's a $20 million receiver, and we're even using him.
Not even using him. It's like, I know everybody wants to bring back Mike Evans, and listen, the Bucs next year are going to be a worse team if they don't have Mike Evans. I'm not going to dispute you on that.
That's true.
Again, there's so many holes around this football team right now. Yeah. I just don't know if that's something you can do because you have so many places you have to fill needs right now. You just do. And Mike, it's been great, 10 years, 11 years. I'm going to love it if they bring him back, but if they don't bring him back, my goodness, let this guy go somewhere where he can continue to win games at this point. I think why would he? I know he loves this place and everything. He can do what he wants, but what incentive do you have to stay around for this? Because this is going to be a rebuild, and it's not going to be a quick fix. Tom Brady's not walking through that door and making everything better like it was in 2019.
Well, the roster was already good.
And the roster in 2019 was vastly ahead of where this one is right now. Some of these players were there on that 2019 team, and they're still here, but they're a lot worse now than they were then.
Well, I think that's a Todd Bowles thing. I've seen Carlton Davis play great football. All right. He's not old.
No, he's in his prime.
Jamel Dean played great football. I've seen some of these guys that are still here. Hell, Anton Winfield even dropped the pick yesterday. I've seen some of these guys play really good football, but they're not anymore. And it's because I'm telling you, it's because of the culture.
And throw Shaq Barrett in there. I mean, he's just, I don't think he's going to be here next year at this point. You just have a lot of guys that got a lot of zeros at the end of your contract. Shaq Barrett, right. Carlton Davis. And Carlton, I thought played. I thought Carlton had one of his better games last year. I thought he was at least near the football for the most part.
Okay, I'll give him that.
But judging him on his overall play this year, Shaq Barrett's play, Jamel Dean, because those are the three highest paid players on this team, I think, on that defense. And then Devin White's 4. Combine them all together, what are you getting?
Not much. Bucs Basement says, how about this must-win game? Devin White has lost so much money, and without Levante, he's not a starting linebacker in the NFL. Bulls lost the game on horrendous management, no timeouts. Yep, no question about it. JP Bucs doomed on first series with stupid quarterback sneak call. How is that a stupid call at inches away? By the way, you could have challenged that because Mike may have scored on that deep throw or that slant pass. How is that? How is this out quarterback sneak a stupid call at the 1 inch line? I'm disagreeing with you there.
Well, it depends if you feel like you have the guys up front to get enough push there, I guess.
Come on, you snap the ball, you fall into the end zone for God's sake. And by the way, Baker, why are you going to the right behind Cody Mauch and not Stinney and Wirfs to the left? You go to the left, you score easily. So that should not be a choice. Like we do the most dumbass things. Run behind your horses, not behind, an undersized guard. And of course, K. Dotton misses his block, so he gets hit by I forget who it was on the outside that takes him down, but he probably scored. The team doesn't need to tank; just keep playing. Baker will be out with an ankle this week. It's over. I mean, they don't need to tank. You're right. Yeah,
they're trying to win games right now, and they're lost
Frank
6 or 7.
Yeah, we mentioned Frank Reich fired, which just sets them up for the win this week against the Bucs.
It's going to be hilarious.
Timeout management by Todd Bowles is terrible, worse than Pop Warner. I mean, how long have we been saying this? It's just unbelievable that this guy keeps his job. I know the Bucs don't fire coaches in the middle of the season, and if
he loses to Carolina,
but
I mean,
listen, what is the point of keeping him around? I mean, I'll just say that to you.
I mean, unless you just want to, again, I think I said this a few weeks back when we had this discussion. Sometimes when you hire an interim, go look at what Las Vegas is playing a lot better football with Antonio Pierce. Sometimes the guys rally around that and you find a little spark. And so if you're the Glazers, I'm sure they're already looking at the draft. I know they are. And they're going, you know what? Maybe we just want to ride this out with Todd. We'll fire him at the end of the year or whatever. Week 17 maybe. Who knows? And let's just go down with the ship. Don't give them any chance of trying to get a spark in here or whatever.
Well, maybe keeping Bowles is the best idea because it ensures that you'll lose all the games. If you get a spark, you might win the division.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. It's like I know a lot of Bucs fans have endured a lot of losing, and I'm a part of that. And there were so many years where I feel like we hit a point in the season and we went, well, the season's over. Let's just lose games. And I know that that's a loser mentality at times. But man, what's the point? What's the point at this juncture? What is the point of somehow winning 3 more games and you have a mid-round pick and you're out of the kind of the area there to get a top flight quarterback or a top flight edge rusher in the building? Right. For what? For what? To get destroyed? And if you win the division, to get destroyed? Yeah. Under your own home field?
It's pointless. But I do think there are some things to get done, and I know you don't like this idea because you love Baker, and I love Baker too, and I think he's done a fantastic job. He's got a limited ceiling.
Well, my thing with Baker, the reason why I'm saying this is because I think Baker has been a solid quarterback for this football team for majority of the year. If you look at all his numbers, and I think my eye test will tell me this too, he's somewhere in that 14 to 18 range, I think. I think that's fair to say. And we already mentioned it, he's not one of the big problems on this football team. The thing with Baker is he's not a difference maker at the position. He's just not. And the Bucs have so many issues that he's not going to overcome. You can count him on one hand how many quarterbacks are going to overcome the issues that the Bucs have right now. And
I get Trask in there.
I get that. I'm just saying I don't hate the idea of Baker playing kind of around this level the rest of the season, and then you bring him back on a 1-year deal, and maybe you go and fill some of these other holes before you touch. I don't know. It depends who the head coach is going to be. If a new head coach comes in, they're probably going to want to get their own quarterback in the building. Okay, that's part of this, but I'm just saying I don't think I've ruled out yet that Baker's the quarterback next year because of all the other holes around it.
Well, it's not going to inspire the team. It's not going to inspire the fan base. And with a high pick and a big quarterback draft, you got to go get one.
Yeah,
Just
it will likely
the
happen.
higher
If you have a
ceiling.
new head coach and you have a top 10 pick, they will probably take the quarterback.
But you have to. Jordan G said, I've never screamed at a Bucs player for performance on my television more than I have Devin White this season. He should have been shipped to the Eagles to ride their bench. I was saying it in the offseason, trade him. Was I not? Trade him. Get rid of him. He wants to go. Get him out of here. And the fact that you didn't trade him, again, set the table for this entire season. Yeah. I'm sorry.
But
that's
you know
not
what?
on Devin. That's not on Devin. That's
but
on
you
the
know what?
organization.
He came back.
That's on Todd Bowles.
He came back, and I give him credit. He owned up to it and said, I shouldn't have acted like that. And okay, fine. But you know what? Go out there and prove that you deserve a contract. And his play has gotten worse. Whereas Mike Evans is trying to get a contract, and Mike Evans is having, I know he still makes some of these errors sometimes through the middle of the game, but I think Mike Evans he's what's holding this offense together at times.
Yeah. Got some Mike Olcomb. How you doing, buddy? The Panthers fired their coach. You all remember? Yes, we do, partner. We remember that very well last year. JP won a rookie quarterback and no Evans. He's still a great receiver. Sign him for the new rookie. Bucs will need him. You want Trey Palmer dropping dimes? No, sign Evans. Listen, if I get rid of Mike Evans, I'm going to get a receiver. I'm not just not replacing him. I'm getting Keon Coleman or somebody else to replace him. Mike, I love Mike Evans. He's not the only receiver in the history of the league. Okay. And Mike does, and there's a lot of plays that Mike leaves out on the field, to be quite honest. So do I want to pay him? Do I want to keep Mike Evans? Absolutely. Do I want to pay him 3 years, $75 million? No, not when you're in a rebuild. Not when you're in a rebuild. You've got to go find young receivers that a quarterback can grow with. I love Mike Evans. I love, he's had a great run here, but you got to look at it from a team concept. Do you really want to pay two receivers $45 million? Two aging receivers, or do you want to go find a Justin Jefferson? Come on now. I mean, there are good receivers in the draft. There are other players in this league. Trey Palmer's, just because you get rid of Mike Evans doesn't mean Trey Palmer is going to be the only receiver on your team. Comprende? Why is Canales calling a sneak with a 5'10" quarterback? You know why? Because you're inches away. You don't want to back up. Let me see, get some other commenters in here. Yes, TJC 22. There are two in this draft. I'd taken the first. What's he talking about?
Probably Williams in May.
What, edge rushers?
No, he's talking about quarterbacks.
Oh, quarterbacks. The rest I wouldn't touch until round 4, and that's okay. Take him there, re-sign Baker for a year, maybe 2, then turn it over if it's necessary. I don't know, partner. I respect your football ability. I think there's more than that in this draft, and I got to go get one. I'm not giving up, next year's first and 2 seconds and doing stupid shit like the Panthers did and other teams and the San Francisco did to move up and get a guy. I'm not doing that. That is not proven to be a very sound strategy. So I'm gonna wait till the guy. There's a guy that comes to me. I'm not going.
They're going to entertain it, regardless. They are going to. And if a new head coach comes in like we're expecting,
yeah.
Like as much as I think it might be a smart play to give Baker a 1-year deal, let him start, draft a quarterback elsewhere in the draft, and try to get an impact player on your defensive line, which still can't create any pressure, by the way, and try to have a game changer over there, a true game wrecker. Not Kalijah Kancey, not Vita Vea. I love those guys, but I don't want Kalijah Kancey and Vita Vea being my two sources of pressure on my defensive line. I don't want that. I want a guy on the edge that can do it, and I don't see a guy long. I know Yaya Diaby might be that guy maybe, but you need somebody in that first round. So, but the reality is, again, if they get a new head coach, they're probably going to want to get the quarterback.
This is Richie P. nails it here. Bowles said last year this team was getting by on the Super Bowl laurels. D. White. Truth of the matter is that Bowles has blessed that attitude by not sitting Devin White. Exactly. 100%. When you allow that, you send a message to the entire team that accountability is just a talking point. We don't actually do it. Bucs about to make Bryce Young look like an MVP. That's right.
Well, I guess it depends. I mean, the last time they faced the rookie quarterback was Will Levis, and they just overwhelmed him with pressure. Yeah. It took over an offensive line. It's a bad offensive line coming up with Carolina. So are we going to send 5 and 6 like we did against Levis and overwhelm him, or are we going to sit back? That's how it's going to go.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Most of these we've kind of hit on. Jordan G. one says this is all to keep the parity of the league intact. They plug certain people into certain spots at specific points, just like WWE. It's like, yeah, the Bucs had their run. Time for them to sit down. Let's get some of these other teams involved. Or just by, parity in the league comes from draft picks, easier schedules. The NFL does a good job with that, rotating it, make it harder for good teams, easier for bad teams, so you get more parity. I think that's smart. Keep all the different markets involved, which is why when teams are so bad for so long, like the Bears, you're like, how, you got to really try to be bad for a long time. They give you so many advantages to get better.
The Bucs wrote a master class on how to do it, though.
They really did. Yeah. All right. A lot of good comments. We'll get to a bunch of them as we go through. We're running a little late. We're going to get to Baker Mayfield, by the way. He said something in his press conference that Nick picked up on that I think is very, very telling. So we'll get to that as well. All right. Big thanks to our sponsors in the first hour, Jeeves Law Group. If you're in an accident, go see Scott Jeeves. He's got an office in St. Pete, got an office in Tampa. He is a local guy involved in the local community. Don't go hiring some of these big law firms that don't give a shiz about you. You're just a number. Go to the Jeeves Law Group where they will get you a great settlement because they care about you. You're not just a number, and they're local folks here. The Jeeves Law Group, JEEVES lawgroup.com. And Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com. Back in 3. Stay with us. JP here for the Geddes Gordon Real Estate Group and our good friend Jane Geddes. Folks, simply put, there is nobody like Jane. Jane is a former LPGA 2-time major championship winner. She was also vice president of talent relations at WWE. She also has a law degree from Stetson. So if Jane can drain a 10-footer to win the U.S. Open and stare down Hulk Hogan in the boardroom, you want Jane on your real estate team to not only negotiate the best deal, but find you the perfect home or investment property. And when you work with the Geddes Gordon Group, you become part of the real estate family and get concierge services that include expertly staging, marketing, and preparing your home for sale. Advice on golf properties. Hey, you might even get some golf tips. Many of their clients become friends long after the sale or purchase is completed. It's all part of the deal. So if you're looking for that perfect home or investment property or try to get top dollar for your home, go with Jane Geddes and the Geddes Gordon Group because there's nobody like Jane. Call 813-485-6808 or go to geddesgordon.kw.com. That's GEDDES Gordon.kw.com. or call 813-485-6808. Well, Fitz the mortgage guy did it again. A listener heard his ad, was going to another big bank, but called Scott Fitzgerald at American Mortgage Services of Tampa, and Fitz saved him $618 on his monthly payment. Are you kidding me? Folks, that's big money. Rates are going up, they're going down, they're going all over the place. Scott will shop your loan and save you lender fees and get the best rates. Email him, scott@amstampa.com, or call 813-294-7595. That's Fitz, the mortgage guy. Lots of stuff going on right now, and these rates are going all over the place. You need somebody knowledgeable in the market that will work hard for you and get you the best deal. That's my man, Scott. He's done 3 loans for me, done thousands of loans for local folks here, works with a lot of the coaches and players in the area. He's the guy. 813-294-7595 or go to scott@amstampa.com. Have any old coins sitting around the house? Well, the Golden Diamond Source will purchase a variety of different types of coins and bullion. Their gold buying program includes sterling silver, silver, platinum, and watches. They also accept unusual pieces that other jewelry stores do not, such as gold bars and sterling silver flatware. The list of items they do accept is far more extensive than those they don't, so check it out. While you're there, you can check out the largest collection of any family-owned jewelry store in the country, especially with summer coming to an end. The holidays are right around the corner. Never too early to start your holiday shopping, especially if you're planning on getting engaged or have any birthdays or anniversaries coming up. Come on in and find out what buying jewelry should be like with an expert staff of gold and diamond jewelry enthusiasts. And the best part, they treat you like family. And if you're worrying about price,
don't. The Golden Diamond Source has something for everyone's budget. They even have a layaway. If you stop in and get your favorite piece now, you can have it paid off by Christmas. Plus, you can even finance your purchase with 0% interest for up to 5 years, and you can get a $5,000 diamond for only $83 a month. It's the greatest folks in the world, Julie and Steve Weintraub, the Golden Diamond Source, 3800 Olmerton Road, always online at thegoldendiamondsource.com.
JP here for my good friends at Italiano Insurance, and they did it again. Once again, Italiano Insurance stepping up with the best customer service. I was in a bind. My old insurance company, my auto insurance, jacked up my rates, so I called Charity at Italiano Insurance, and she stayed till 9:30 at night until she got my insurance done. And guess what? She searched all these companies for me. I didn't do the work. She did. Saved me $1,000 on my annual premium. $1,000, folks. That's real money. And that's what you get at Italiano Insurance. Great customer service. And here's another note for you, by the way, with hurricane season up. 40% of people in Florida are underinsured. That means if you have something happen during a hurricane and you need replacement costs, you're going to get 40% less than you deserve. Can't let that happen. Call the folks at Italiano Insurance and get them to help you out in both those regards. They will save you money and keep you insured properly. That's 813-877-7799. Great folks in the community, been doing it for over 60 years. Italiano Insurance, 813-877-7799.
Pure sports. JP is back on.
Welcome back.
FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show. We appreciate you guys joining us here, brought to you by the great folks at the Geddes Group. If you're looking for real estate investment, that is something they do very well. They can take your portfolio and get you some great properties that will be income producing, or if you're looking for a new home, no, it's a little challenging in this market, but that's why you hire the best. The Geddes Group. Jane Geddes will get you the best service anyway. The people that work with them rave about them. Their clients become friends. You get the full treatment. It's not just a numbers game with them. So they're going to give you the best attention that you deserve, so richly deserve. It's the Geddes Group. Go to their website, gettysgordongroup.com. All right, I want to get into a little bit of, before we get to Baker, and by the way, Matt Matera is going to join us from the Pewter Report at 11 o'clock. Kasey Hudson will join us. NHL Talk, what she covers the Lightning. We'll speak with her as well about the Lightning's big win this weekend as well. They got Colorado and Arizona coming up. And, a big 8-2 win over Carolina. That was a very interesting game. I want to hit a little college football here before we get to more Bucs talk, and we'll get to the Baker Mayfield thing in a little bit. The FSU Florida game was, my blood pressure rises. I get goosebumps just thinking about it. It was such a frustrating game to watch from an FSU perspective. I thought the Gators showed a lot of fight. I really did. I thought, defensively, they showed a lot of fight in that game. And they and this is what worries me about FSU is their offensive line has been getting handled in the second half of the season. They've lost some guys. Maybe guys are playing a little bit more injured, but they're not a stellar group by any stretch of the imagination. But the one thing this FSU team does is fight, and they never quit. They make game-changing plays time and time again. We saw it with Kalen DeLoach against Clemson. We saw it in the Boston College game. We saw it in the Miami game with Trey Benson. And we saw it in this game on so many levels. Trey Benson with some huge plays. Johnny Wilson with some huge plays. Keon Coleman with some huge plays. The defense coming up big pressure-wise. Jared Verse was tremendous at the end of the game. And Mike Norvell, I thought, coached a very patient game. And it's a big win, and they're 12-0, and Louisville didn't do them any favors by losing to Kentucky, but they got to go beat Louisville. But Nick, I if I'm being honest, and I know a lot of people, even my FSU brethren, don't want me saying this, but FSU with Tate Rodemaker at quarterback is not a playoff team. They're not. They can't move the football. They can't throw the football. They look like a Big Ten team. Tate was the moment was too big for him. He's a nice young kid, but he's not a level quarterback like a Bo Nix or even a Jaden Milroe at this point. I mean, he's just not – the moment's too big for him. I don't even know if they're going to beat Louisville with Tate at quarterback. If I were Mike Norvell, I'd be looking at Brock Glenn, because if they go out there and, and win a 17-10 game like they did against the Gators and things fall a certain way, I don't know if the committee votes them in.
Because but I think that would be horrendous by this committee. Like, I hear what you're saying, and I don't necessarily disagree. Like, and I think that's kind of been the argument.
I'm trying to be objective here.
I get it. And I watched the game. I thought the game was going to be very close, even if Jordan Travis played for FSU, because I just thought it was a tough environment. It's on the road. I know that Florida team is not very good, but they've played tough against good teams, I think, throughout this year. You saw how they nearly beat Missouri the week prior. And just that they had a lot to play for as well, I thought, and they could end Florida State's season. I thought it was going to be close. So, yes, I get it. Rodemaker was not – he looked a little overwhelmed, especially the first 20 minutes of that game. I thought he settled down a little bit during the middle stages of that game, and they were able to kind of lean on Trey Benson, which had to be the kind of the philosophy if you're going to get by right now, is Trey Benson's got to make plays, and he did, and the defense has to bow up. And I think Florida had like negative yardage in the fourth quarter, and Mike, he rotates his pass rushers a lot during the game, and why is that? Because in the fourth quarter, when it matters, Jared Verse is fresh, and Jared Verse, he took over that game. Your best players have got to make big plays when they matter, and Jared Verse did, Fisk did, all those guys in that defense. They're the reason why FSU got through that. But I will say, just to give some optimism, it's rivalry week. Crazy things happen, and let me just run it down for you. So FSU won by 9 on the road in a hostile environment with a backup quarterback. Georgia played Georgia Tech at home, full strength, and won by 8. It went down to the wire. Yeah. Washington played full strength against Washington State at home and needed a game-winning field goal to win. Alabama played on the road in a hostile environment against their rival in Auburn, who had just lost to New Mexico State by 21.
21 points.
And they took a miracle play at the end by Jalen Milroe to escape with that win.
In the committee's eyes, that should be an L.
And my point by saying that is all these other teams that are around them that we talk about could be playoff teams, they all kind of struggled at points through their rivalry week. And Florida State had the most going against them because they're playing with a backup quarterback, and they had more of a margin of victory than all those teams did.
Yeah, they did.
So I'm not going to sit here and say they don't deserve to be in the playoff. If you go 13-0, if you beat Louisville next week, and I don't care what it looks like, if you go 13-0 and you don't get into the playoff, the whole system, the whole sport needs to be burned down to the ground, and we need to start over. That's the way I feel, because there are other great players on this team.
Anyway.
There are other great players on this team. I know that it wasn't pretty, but Florida State showed that they can win a football game in a hostile environment, which is what it's going to be like in the playoff. I know Florida's not great. I get it. But they showed that they could do it, and they can win a different way.
The playoff environment's going to be way easier than that.
Yeah, it's going to be actually easier because it's going to be a split crowd.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And
now,
to play in the ACC championship's going to be way easier to play in, and maybe that's easier for State.
And this is all, and I'm only saying this as an argument for why you should get into the top 4. I don't think for 1 second if Florida State gets into the playoff and they're the 4 seed, which I have to think that's what's going to end up happening. If they're the 4 seed and they got to play Georgia, listen, you're just going to get fed to them. I mean, that's just what it is. I don't think Florida State, I'll probably put it at like a 1% chance because crazy things happen. I think they have a 1% chance of winning the national championship this year because I think if they get into the playoff, which I think if they go 13-0, they deserve to get in, I don't think they have much of a chance against Georgia. I think both those things can be true. They deserve to get into the playoff, but if they do get in, I think they're going to get fed to Georgia. But they're not the only one that I feel about that, though.
Tate has to play a lot better in this game against Louisville. And like some guys are saying here, Will Valentine, need to take the training wheels off of Rodemaker and let him run the whole offense. Plus, it's not an RPO if the quarterback is not a threat to run. Exactly. Yeah, I agree with that. I was saying, listen, throw the ball downfield because clearly Florida was, stacking the box. They were going to make Rodemaker beat him, which you should do. But I think, if you take the training wheels off Rodemaker, be careful what you wish for because he could throw a couple of maybe.
He can sling it though, and I thought I saw that when he got a little bit more comfortable and they started throwing down the field. I thought he made some really good throws. I just think that they did a little bit.
times. Yeah,
They did, but I just felt like the first 20 minutes, I thought he was completely overwhelmed. But once they settled down, I mean, I thought they took the game over. I really did. Well, like I said,
what they've done in the second half is they've shut teams down defensively in the second half,
Right.
including Jaden Daniels at LSU. And you know, you look around the league, and again, Louisville losing to Kentucky was not great. But you know, the number one team in the SEC, Georgia, barely beat a middling ACC team. Okay,
Right.
and I think the ACC ended up 7 or 6-4 against the ACC, or 7-3.
Mhm.
You know, the ACC won more games. FSU was 2-0 against the SEC. Okay, and a pretty damn good team in LSU. So, you know, look, it's you look around the league, around college football, there are no dominant teams. There are no dominant teams, and Oregon's getting credit for, you know, beating a lot of those Pac-12 teams. Well, where's the Pac-12's out of conference wins? I don't know how good the Pac-12 is. I don't know how good the Big Ten is. What I saw in Ohio State and in Michigan, you know, they have real issues with the forward pass. They do. You know, they don't. I understand that they don't throw it a lot, but come on.
I mean, those were the two best defenses in college football, to be fair.
Are they? Are they? Who do
by
they play?
By every metric, they are.
When are they tested? Who? You play Iowa every
I
week.
guess. I mean, Michigan had to play TCU last year, and you know, TCU scored
what happened.
50. You know,
Yeah.
I get it. Georgia played Ohio State last year, and Georgia put up 40 plus. You know, I get it.
Yeah, it's easy. I think it's pretty easy to have the best two defenses when you're playing Minnesota and Iowa every week. Who can't move the football?
Right. But you know, I just think that when it comes to playoff discussions, it should be this simple. Like, there's all this hoopla and the Feinbaums in the world and the Joel Klatz of the world. They're going to try to tell you that FSU, they need to get, or like Kirk Herbstreit, get him out of there, right? They're going to make all these comments. Just don't buy into the bait right now. I have full faith. I like to think I have full faith that if Florida State beats Louisville, Georgia beats Alabama, Michigan beats Iowa, and then the winner of Oregon-Washington, that is your playoff. If that is not the scenario that plays out, then again, like I said, we need to reevaluate what we're doing as a sport. Because I don't see any way, unless somebody trips up. I know Texas, they feel like they're a little boxed out right now. And I know they have the great win on the road against Bama, not taking that away from them. But because the committee has told you they like one-loss Oregon over Texas, even though Texas has a better win than Oregon, if Oregon beats Washington, they're going. And I think that's how it should be. And if Washington wins and they're undefeated, bottom line, if you have 4 undefeated teams, this should be the easiest playoff to make.
I agree. I guess when I'm looking at FSU, I see more warts because I'm staring at them so.
No, I see them. I see them. They're a different team. They're a different team without Jordan Travis. But I also feel like there are some other teams, mainly Washington, and give Washington credit. They've won the games they needed to do because that's what good teams do. But they get more credit for doing it than Florida State has this year.
Yeah. No, I agree. I'm trying to be as objective as I can, and that to me. Especially when it's 12-0 against a team that, you know, that gave up 700 yards to LSU. It's just, come on, you got to be better than that. You got to be able to move the football. I had 3 plays, I think, in the first or 6 plays in the first quarter and a half. It wasn't good. I mean, but you got to play a full football game.
They won in a different way though. Yeah. I think that shows that they're more than just Jordan Travis. Like they found a different way to win. And in the second half, show me the teams that play as good as Florida State in the second half when it matters.
There are none. And that matters. And that really, that's when obviously games are won and lost. And that's one thing that FSU has been able to do.
I'm just going to tell you, don't buy into just don't get caught up in the Feinbaums of what they're saying. That's not the committee. Heather Dinich is not the committee. Okay, yeah. I think the committee has given Florida State their respect. Yeah, I really do.
Agree. And we'll see next week. You know, I think it's going to be telling, and you got to play the whole season out. And then, you know, if they look a little bit better offensively next week, then I'm good. I'm good with it. Yeah, and if things fall a certain way, there's no way. You know, I'm not super impressed with a lot of these one-loss teams that they're like unbeatable. Hell, Alabama went out of conference against USF, and look at that. Is that impressive? No, it wasn't. And by the way, major props to USF and Alex Golish in his first year. That's fantastic what they were able to do. Look, you know, do they have any great wins? No. It doesn't matter. You play who's on your schedule. You get to 6 wins after as bad as they've been. You tip the cap. You tip the cap and go bowling, get better. And that's just a great win for them. UCF gets bowl eligible. Good for them. I think those are two. I would say the USF maybe is a little bit more impressive than the UCF. There's some games that they could have and should have won, but whatever. It's a building process for both of these teams, and for USF, this is a huge, huge step for them.
And let's play each other now. Let's do it.
Yeah, let's
Beer
get them in
Bowl,
the bowl
Gasparilla Bowl. I don't care. Let's have UCF
Bowl,
USF
man,
play.
They would love to have that. They would dive for that matchup. They would fill that place.
Right.
Mostly UCF fans, but they'd fill it. All right, quick break. When we come back, Matt Matera is going to join us from the Pewter Report. We'll get his take on another Bucs loss. It was disappointing, but completely predictable. We're brought to you by the great folks at the Gold and Diamond Source, American Mortgage Services, and Bay Area Modern Medical Center. If you want to get your testosterone right, lose some weight, get your immune system right, and get some personal attention that you so richly deserve, instead of 15 minutes in and out at your doctor's office, it's Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com. Stay with us.
Do you have any old coins sitting around the house? Well, the Gold and Diamond Source will purchase a variety of different types of coins and bullion. Their gold buying program includes sterling silver, silver, platinum, and watches. They also accept unusual pieces that other jewelry stores do not, such as gold bars and sterling silver flatware. The list of items they do accept is far more extensive than those they don't, so check it out. While you're there, you can check out the largest collection of any family-owned jewelry store in the country, especially with summer coming to an end. The holidays are right around the corner. Never too early to start your holiday shopping, especially if you're planning on getting engaged or have any birthdays or anniversaries coming up. Come on in and find out what buying jewelry should be like with an expert staff of gold and diamond jewelry enthusiasts. And the best part, they treat you like family. And if you're worrying about price, don't. The Gold and Diamond Source has something for everyone's budget. They even have a layaway. If you stop in and get your favorite piece now, you can have it paid off by Christmas. Plus, you can even finance your purchase with 0% interest for up to 5 years, and you can get a $5,000 diamond for only $83 a month. It's the greatest folks in the world, Julie and Steve Weintraub, the Gold and Diamond Source, 3800 Olmerton Road, always online at thegoldendiamondsource.com. Hey guys, are you experiencing those feelings of getting older, lower sex drive, fatigue, hot flashes, moodiness, or you just don't feel like you had the vitality you once had? It's a chronic problem here in the United States. You're not just getting old, it's likely low testosterone. Studies over the last 20 years show a shocking decline in younger males aged 16 to 39. Older men have seen a sharp decline as well, so do something about it. Go see my friend Christopher Lugo at Bay Area Modern Medicine. Look, testosterone replacement is not a frivolous treatment. It takes a professional, targeted approach that focuses on total body wellness, vitality, and emotional stability, not a one-size-fits-all approach like many clinics use. They will monitor your blood work and adjust your treatment as needed for optimal results. Folks, I've been on testosterone therapy for over 6 years, and it is a life changer. You will feel and look better than you did 10 years ago. Give them a call at 844-977-3477 or go to BAMMC.com. Tell them JP sent you for priority scheduling. That's 844-977-3477 or BAMMC.com. JP here for the Jeeves Law Group, Jeeves. Call for a free case evaluation, 888-9-JEEVES. That's 888-9-JEEVES. We're local, we're trusted. The law firm brings over 80 years of combined legal experience focusing on clients in Tampa Bay, the state of Florida, and national class action cases. If you're injured, get that free case evaluation, no cost to you. The Jeeves Law Group's focus is on auto, truck, and motorcycle accidents, as well as class action and consumer protection law. Scott Jeeves is a board-certified civil trial lawyer and a certified circuit court mediator practicing in the Tampa Bay area for over 30 years. You hear him on the show all the time. Great guy, big Gator fan, and great for the community. The Jeeves Law Group is a highly skilled team with years of experience that will apply their skills, expertise, and knowledge to assist individuals who have been in an accident with compensation for damages, lost wages, medical expenses, pain and suffering, and property damage. Get that free case evaluation. 888-9-JEEVES. That's 888-9-JEEVES.
Coming back at you. Now, more with JP on FanStream Sports. It's only just begun.
All right, welcome back to a Pitch and Moan Monday here. Our second hour of JP Peterson Show, brought to you by the great folks at the Patio. If you want to go watch some Monday Night Football tonight and all the great bowl games coming up, any of the playoffs as well, Bucs games, it's always the Patio. Beautiful outdoor space, great drink prices, great happy hour, 3 to 7 each and every day, $1 off beer and wine. Such a fun place to hang out. It's the Patio, 421 South McDill. All right, let's bring in our good friend Matt Matera from the Pewter Report to get his take on another Bucs loss. 6 out of 7, Matt. And as I told you in my text this morning, re-rack the talking points. Terrible coaching. Devin White is awful. They don't make the plays when they need to make them. Same old terrible time management. I mean, same old, right?
Yeah, if the Bucs are anything, they are consistent with the mistakes that they make. I mean, you go back to the first drive of the game, which was looking so well until Baker Mayfield got hurt, and then bam, you have the ball on the 1-inch yard line, and you get a false start penalty, moves them back to kick a field goal. And then on their last drive, when they have an opportunity to tie the game up right before the 2-minute warning, they get the first down. Bam, you're going to be at midfield with 2 minutes to go and all 3 of your timeouts. But no, an illegal shift penalty moves the Bucs back. So then they run the ball with under 2 minutes to go. That made no sense to me. So the offense consistently shot themselves in the foot over and over and over. But I think even the bigger story really is the defense. Once again, 27 points allowed for the second game in a row. Wide receivers wide open because the defensive backs played 20 yards off the ball, and no pass rush once again, at least consistently.
Matt, those first 2 series, I'm sitting there watching this tape, and I'm just laughing. I mean, how do you back up 15 yards, 10, and then back up at the snap? And literally, the receivers are taking like 6 steps, turning around and catching the ball. I mean, it's like you cannot make it any easier for an offense. And Indianapolis, like, you imagine what their coaches are thinking. Are they going to keep doing this? Okay, let's keep. Hey, Gardner, just keep taking it. 5 steps, turn around. 5 steps. I mean, it's laughable. And not only that, but it sets the tone for the entire game. It's like they just go right down the field, no aggression by the defense. You're just taking it. You're just taking it. And I just think it permeates the entire game after that. It's to just take whatever they want.
Right. And Todd Bowles will try to justify it by saying, hey, we don't want to allow the big play, the deep ball down the field, like what you saw with Ayuk. But like, if you look at the game and you look at some of the numbers and stuff, and I try not to be just a box score watcher, but the Colts had the ball. They had 70 snaps on offense. I don't think that's a recipe for success either. Just, okay, we're not going to allow the big play, so we'll just allow 7 yards after 8 yards after 5 yards every single time, and they'll just dink and dunk you to death. And they proved that they can do that by scoring 27 points in that game, where really only the one turnover by Baker Mayfield put the Colts in pretty good field position. The rest of the time, they drove the ball down the field. Michael Pittman had over 100 receiving yards. They ran the ball for 155 rushing yards. So anything the Colts wanted to do, they were able to accomplish on the offensive side of the football. And the pass rush was nowhere to be found once again. Todd Bowles tried blitzing. Devin White didn't get home, so everyone can shut up about him playing as an edge rusher because he's not going to work there. They tried blitzing Antoine Winfield Jr., so teams know what Tampa Bay is going to do. I don't care about all these crazy, chaotic looks. Yeah, it was fun having Yaya on the interior defensive line to start out the game, but teams know what the Bucs are going to do. They know they want to blitz Antoine Winfield Jr. from up top and bring him down low. It's not 2020 anymore, all right? There's plenty of tape on this Bucs defense. You got to mix it up in other ways or find something that works to get the front 4 guys on the pass rush to get home because, they had 2 sacks. Joe Tryon-Shoyinka was untouched and went in free and got the sack. Hey, good for him, though. Credit to him. He finished the play.
Ran into him.
Yeah, well, that too. So they had 2 sacks on the game. They had 3 quarterback hits. So that means outside of the sacks, there was only one other time that they hit Gardner Minshew, and clearly it's not enough.
And Matt, I feel like we sound like a broken record week in and week out talking about Devin White. And I don't want to pick on the guy, but I feel like his play just makes it very easy to just criticize and break it down. And do you know any $100 million linebackers out there, or at least guys who want it, that go 1v1 against Jonathan Taylor at the goal line with a chance to stop him and just completely let him go by? And do you know any $100 million linebackers who get just shifted in space by Gardner Minshew? You know those guys?
No, I do not. It was almost reminiscent. Devin White getting pushed into the end zone. That was kind of like Bo Jackson against the Boz back in the day, just completely ramming him into the end zone.
I don't know about that.
I tweeted X, whatever you want to call it. That was a $20 million per year missed tackle by Devin White when Gardner Minshew got into the end zone. I mean, Gardner Minshew could have won the Heisman Trophy with the way that he was playing, especially in that first half. I mean, Devin, I get it. He's playing with a foot injury, but no one's 100% healthy at this time of the season. He wants the big contract. He likes to walk around like he's the man and he's the guy, but he's not proving it on the field. So I'm with you, Nick. Like, I don't want to pick on Devin White either, but give me something else that I can point to and say, hey, Devin's doing quite well. The top 3 tacklers for the Bucs in yesterday's game were Antoine Winfield Jr., Zion McCollum, and Carlton Davis. It's not a good sign when your guys in the secondary are leading the team in tackles, and then Devin was 4th. But Devin made no impact plays on the game.
No, and he cost you time and time again. They get picked on in the red zone. And, please stop with the foot injury. I've been watching Devin White overrun guys since the Super Bowl. He runs, he doesn't break down. His fundamentals are awful. He doesn't get in position to make a tackle, which is why he always misses tackles. It has nothing to do with a foot injury. Nothing. And the only person that's saying he's a $20 million linebacker is him. Have you ever seen anybody else say he's a $20 million linebacker? He says he wants to be. He's not. He's not even a $2 million. I literally, as PFF has him at 81 out of 81 as Nick pick. I wouldn't start him I wouldn't even start him if he's terrible. He cost you on that Mo Alley Cox play late in the game on 4th and inches. You don't think they were targeting him and Carlton Davis on that play? Whoever he's responsible for, and you figure this out in film study in short yardage, is he responsible for the tight end? Okay, let's sneak the tight end out. Is he responsible for the running back down on the goal line? Can we get him in man-to-man? Yeah, let's get McCaffrey and him one-on-one. I mean, every time teams and in the running game, they lead right up on him every single time. He can't get off a block. He's targeted on almost every play, and the plays are successful. So for Larry Foote or Todd Bowles to stand at the podium and say he's not hurting us, we all could see the tape, guys. And I know you're smarter than that. Yeah. So I'm sorry. It's evident. And when you allow it, your entire culture breaks down.
And Todd Bowles, for whatever reason, defends Devin to the death. I mean, we ask him week in and week out,
right?
Why is Devin not doing this? Why did Devin have such a poor game? And, it's one thing not to call him out publicly, but he won't even admit. We pried it out of Larry Foote. I asked him the question on Thursday. We pried it out of him say it wasn't Devin's best game. That's the most negative thing this coaching staff has ever said about Devin White. And sadly, it's to the point where they are essentially coddling him. They are justifying everything that Devin is doing poorly and saying the whole team needs to get better. It's not just Devin. And that's true to a degree. A lot of guys have to step up. It's not just Devin. But Devin's your team leader. He's a captain. He's been in the system for quite a while. He's your inside linebacker. He's the quarterback of the defense. And you can see why Levante David is going into the Ring of Honor one day for the Buccaneers. And Devin White just isn't that guy. I don't know who's going to pay him next season. The only thing I could see is if Todd Bowles gets fired at the end of the season, which is probably likely at this point, he ends up becoming a defensive coordinator somewhere else, and he says, know who I need for this defense? Devin White. Get me Devin White. That's the only big contract I see coming.
Hopefully it's somewhere in the NFC South, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
Okay, so we can see him twice a year.
Yeah.
Oh, Devin's going to play against his old team. I'm like, okay. It's a good thing.
Yeah. I'm curious to get your take on this because, as Bucs fans, we've been so grown to we get through a certain point of the season, we accept it's over, and we start looking at drafts. And we start mock drafting like crazy. And who are we going to take? Usually quarterback. And they sit with the 7th pick right now. I mean, when it comes to the Baker Mayfield thing, I think he's been solid.
Yeah.
for parts of this season. Not a difference maker by any means, and not good enough to overcome all of the other issues. But at this point, and let's just say they lose to Carolina this week, are you at that point where it's like, okay, maybe he hasn't played bad enough to deserve getting taken out of the quarterback spot, but at that point, do you have to do something just to see what you have in Trask?
I don't think they're at that point just yet. As frustrating as they are as a team, and I don't really believe them in any other matchup this season, even going up against Carolina this weekend, they're still in the divisional race, which is unbelievable to think. I know. But Baker isn't the big reason why they are losing. And the issue is, yeah, the fans want to like prepare for the future and things like that, but Todd Bowles doesn't want to do that. Mike Evans doesn't want to do that. And a lot of these guys on the offensive line and at the skill position don't want to see Kyle Trask come in the game either, because they believe they can win with Baker Mayfield. He is a team captain. But to your other point about Baker playing solid and what that means for the future, I don't see like how much better Baker is going to be, where his floor can be like much, much worse. I think we're still waiting for the big implosion game where Baker has multiple turnovers and tries to be the hero too much. So when I watch this Bucs team, I do have an eye on the other side. Yeah, I know they say the grass isn't always greener, but I'm looking over the fence a little bit at Jaden Daniels and some of the other QB prospects. I like Baker. I think if this team had a little more talent around them and like a stout defense, you could win with Baker and win a division and win a playoff game. But I don't see him as a Super Bowl winning quarterback, not with this roster. So at this point, he's a stopgap guy that is solid and average. And I think there's a place in the NFL for Baker Mayfield moving forward. I just don't necessarily think it's a long-term starting quarterback for the Bucs.
Yeah, I think even this year, if he had a better head coach and a better defense, he would have a chance to be a legitimate playoff team, like win 8 or 9 games and win this division, and maybe have a chance in a playoff game. But with this, and Matt, this is where I am at with Todd Bowles. You got to. I know the Glazers don't like firing guys in midseason, but at some point, you just cannot continue to allow these elemental time management mistakes. Just the lack of, the coverage busts time and time again. It's just this team has no discipline. It has no fire. It's super soft, and it comes from the top. And I think if you just continue to allow this malaise, I don't know. I think your fan base, first of all, is almost all but checked out. And rightfully so. It's just awful to watch each and every week. 6 out of 7 games, the same shit every week, and it's maddening to watch. So I don't know, how do you continue with this mediocrity?
Yeah, it's hard not to check out on this Bucs team. So I don't necessarily blame the fans. And what's most aggravating is that it might not be the same guy every single week. I know we talked about Devin White, we've talked about Carlton Davis and his struggles in the past.
Yeah.
But each week, it's the same mistakes are compounded. It's bad penalties at bad times, dropped passes by the offense. Trey Palmer on a 2nd and 17 that gets you a first down, if not a touchdown. That was inexcusable. And everything we talk about on the defensive side, no pass rush, no one up on the line of scrimmage when they really should be. So that's what's aggravating, especially on the defensive side when you're a defensive coach. Those problems should be fixed. By the way, Marquise Watts, nowhere to be found in this game once again. You had
but he's killing it in practice, bro.
Yeah.
He's killing Tristan Wirfs and Geddes in practice.
Now, the one thing I do wonder, and I'm not in the head of the Glazers, but what if they're thinking like, all right, this season is a lost cause, and Todd Bowles is so bad at his job that it's actually good because they're going to keep losing, and that's going to get them a better draft pick down the road. Why ruin a good thing when you can get into the top 5 if you just keep continuously losing? I'm not saying that's a fact and that's what the Glazers are going for, but I think it's something to consider.
Hey, initial thoughts on Carolina. I know y'all are going to dive into it this week, but they just fired Frank Reich. I feel like we saw this last year where they fired Matt Rule, and then they beat the Bucs up there in Carolina. Yeah. I mean, do you think we're heading towards that again? Are we still have new lows to get to? And that starts with Carolina this week, you think?
And let's not forget that they also traded Christian McCaffrey, so they didn't have to deal with Christian McCaffrey and still lost to the Panthers.
Yeah, that's right.
The Panther, it's tough to watch the Bucs. It's a little tough to watch the Panthers as well. Like going into the season, you would say, all right, well, they still have a solid defense, and there's going to be growing pains with Bryce Young. But I mean, they look even worse than the Bucs. I think this is legitimately a game. If the Bucs lose to the Panthers, that Todd Bowles should get fired if they lose to a 1-win Carolina Panthers team. I mean, they have one guy on offense, and that's Adam Thielen, and he's obviously an old veteran in the NFL. Like, you can't let Adam Thielen beat. Last year was Curtis Samuel that beat the Bucs pretty well, and he's a really good wide receiver. I know he's on the Bears now, that the Bears stink, but you can't lose to Adam Thielen. You can't be like, well, Adam Thielen went off, and then the Bucs lost to the Panthers that way. They have to throttle the Panthers, because even if they win like how they beat the Titans, or it's a close game, does that really inspire much more? I don't necessarily think so. Now, if the Falcons and the Saints lose again and the Bucs win, that might inspire some hope. But I'm not too confident about the Bucs beating the Panthers.
No, or anybody at this point. No question about it. Matt Matera joining us here. Matt, as we look towards the future, I do think if you're Jason Light, Todd Bowles, he has absolutely no clue on any personnel decision whatsoever. But if you're Jason Light, maybe and it was good to see Yaya Diaby get the start. Yeah. But as far as that goes, I'm playing as many young kids as I can and getting as many looks as I can. I know you don't want. I'm all for going to Trask right now, because I got to see what I got. Nobody knows what he is. Nobody knows. You just don't know. And one of our commenters, TJC 22, says as soon as you bench Baker, you lose the locker room. I think there's a chance of that. But I also said I think you lost the locker room already. There's guys out there that aren't playing hard. They're not playing up to the way they used to. And Baker said it yesterday, Nick, right? Yeah. That until everybody gets pissed and wants to really, really win, we're not going to win. So I don't know. Maybe if you put Trask in, it's at least a sign of accountability. I would bench Devin White immediately, or just say he's too injured to play. I got to see. Where are you at with the future of the rest of this season?
I still think, because there's a little over a month to go, I think you still got to compete to a degree, just because the NFC South is still up for grabs. If they were in pretty much any other division across the NFL, I'd be with you. I'd say, all right, let's just say Devin's injured and have him not play for a couple of games, so you got a better look at Servassier Dennis. They're already playing a fair amount of young guys. Like Christian Isian is an undrafted rookie that's been starting at nickel. Zion McCollum's a second-year player that has gotten a lot of starts because either Carlton Davis or Jamel Dean is hurt every single week. Trey Palmer averages around 65 to 75% of the snaps each week. So they're playing a fair amount of their young guys. I hear
you're just not ready for Trask.
Yeah, I hear you about Trask. I don't think you want to lose the locker room. I don't think the locker room is completely lost just yet. There's still a lot of tight-knit guys there, a tight-knit group together. They're not playing well, but no one's pointing fingers at each other, at least not yet, and at least not publicly. They like Todd Bowles. Todd Bowles may not be a good coach, but they like him. And so
they don't play very hard for him.
I'm not ready to push the Trask button yet, or Trask time, whatever people want to call it. I do think in a couple of weeks from now, even if they're like 2 games out, I think then you got to see what you have with Kyle Trask, because the draft pick of Kyle Trask, and I get it, it was a luxury pick at the time. That's going to go down as a terrible pick. A terrible pick. A second-round draft pick on a quarterback that never sees the field.
Yeah. No, I think you need to see what you got. Hey, before you leave, quick thought on FSU. Playoff worthy? What do you think?
It's so dicey, right? Because it's like, should they get all the blame just because one player got hurt? I don't necessarily think so, but they didn't look great against the Gators. The defense picked it up in the second half, obviously. Didn't love what I saw from Tate Rodemaker, but maybe it was important for him to get that game under his belt. I mean, if they go out against Louisville and beat them by 30, it's going to be very difficult to keep them out. I'm not saying they're going to beat Louisville by 30. But yeah, they got to pick it up on the offensive side of the football, because that's going to ultimately determine whether or not they make the playoff. What I do think, and this will be my last point, is if Georgia beats Bama, if Washington beats Oregon, and obviously Michigan wins, you're going to have 3 undefeated teams in the playoff. If the Seminoles win as well, you tell me you're going to have 3 undefeated teams and you're going to leave another undefeated team out? Yeah. That's really difficult to do as well. So I'm glad I don't have to make this decision.
Yeah, I agree. All right, Maddie, tell everybody how they can get your content real quick.
Yeah, pewterreport.com. Follow us at Pewter Report, Pewter Report TV on our YouTube channel. And my social media is at Maddie, _4_Matera. So appreciate you guys as always for having me on. It's great talking to you.
Great job, Matty. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to switch gears a little bit here and talk a little Lightning hockey after a great win by the Bolts on Saturday night. Vasy was back. Or was that Friday night? Was that Friday night? Kasey Hudson joining us here. She covers the Lightning for the Odyssey Network. What's up, Kasey? How are you?
Hello, guys. Yeah, that was Friday. It feels like
It's been a long
ago.
weekend. Yeah,
exactly. It's been some time, but a phenomenal game for them to bounce back versus the Kings that they had split results with, and to see these guys just continue to show that they are a playoff-worthy team while they start molding things out. And to do that for Vasy, I think, was extremely important.
Yeah, I watched the first period. I'm like, holy crap, this is awful. Like they could not get the puck. They couldn't get it out of the neutral zone, for God's sakes. I'm like, Jesus.
Yep.
What, they had one shot in the first period on goal? I was like, this is ugly. But then, you're also looking at Carolina. It's like, God, can they continue this for 3 periods? I mean, they were just like they were playing for the freaking Stanley Cup. And like every pass was challenged, like everything. I'm like, good God. And then, suddenly the Lightning find a couple of seams. And before you know it, it's freaking 8-2. I'm like, holy shit, what just happened? That was a crazy
After
game.
First, I would have never guessed that it would become an 8-2
No,
game. I will say that there was parts of that game where the Canes were their own unraveling for many reasons. Still, just to see them be able to capitalize off of momentum swings. We're talking about a team that's not only giving up leads, but giving up swings and allowing teams to get back in the game. And once they got their foot on the gas, they did not allow the Canes to get back into the game. So that was an important thing to see that this team can do as we start getting past that first quarter of the season.
I don't know how much more we can say about Nikita Kucherov. And it's like he's 30 years old, and it's like he's playing at his own pace out there. It's not like he's McDavid and he's faster than everybody, but he plays at this like if you watch the NBA, it's kind of like Jokic. He plays at his own pace. And you just can't stop it. And that's kind of how Nikita Kucherov reminds me. Like, if anything, was that a good, we needed that. We saw Nikita Kucherov and Braden Point take over that game. That regardless the issues this team has, when you have 2 all-world players like that can both take it over, you just can't count this team out.
Yeah, I think that's a great analogy to use too, Nick. Like, to think that he plays his own game. I think we all talk about how phenomenal his skill set is, but we don't talk about the fact that Nikita Kucherov can force you to play his game. It takes a lot to kind of take him out of any kind of contention there. And Braden Point, I love the pace that he's playing at, because everybody wants to talk about the fact that he doesn't have a certain amount of goals at this point of the season, but he's getting hot and he's getting sweeter as the time goes on. And I think we saw this team kind of produce so well early in the season last year and then fall off in the second half. So as for kind of managing their pace, managing their game, I think that they're getting into the right slots of the game at the right time. But as for Cooch, it's just like he doesn't have to be the fastest guy out there. I don't know what his vision is, but it's just like he sees everything in like a less than of a tenth of a second, like trying to predict what he's going to do, predict his game, get that little touch on the pass. There's absolutely nobody like him in the league, and I think that's why he continues to sit top of the league when it comes to racking up these assists. I talked with Sam about it last week. I was trying to have some fun with the guys and make them answer questions about using hockey jargon. But the only thing that they could think to say was to talk about Nikita Kucherov's game. That was something they were able to do without all the hockey talk around it, which tells you a lot, by the way, because it was impossible for these guys to not use hockey terms. But Sammer was just talking about him finding him in that circle through traffic. And it's not just, the shooting through percentage for Nikita Kucherov. It's that split second of a decision to know that he's going to get the puck through, whether there's traffic there or not. So it's all vision. It's just he's one of a kind, and I'm glad he's on this roster.
Yeah, he's in sports. There are a few people that you just want to watch play the game because and as Nick said, it's a different speed. Maybe it's the game slows down. There's another hockey cliche or sports cliche for you, but it's true. There's just certain guys like Barry Sanders was a guy like that. You just wanted to watch. Michael Jordan was a guy like that. It's, sometimes Mike Evans does things that you're just like, wow, that's ridiculous. And Kucherov is one of those guys, and Vasy is too. They're just difference makers. All these guys are super talented, but these guys are better than everybody else. And this is why the Lightning have won 2 cups. They're special. And I don't know if it's because Vasy 88 was back there, but it seemed that Kucherov was better, Point was better, Stamkos, like everybody's better. And I said last week, will they get their swagger back? Well, we see they just look like a different, more confident team to me with Vasy back there. And I'm not saying he was any better than Johansson has been, but he made some great saves. It's a vibe. Fair?
Yes, 100%. It's a vibe. And I think a lot of it is you can't really beat time and relationship. Relationship plays a huge role into everything. So while Johansson has been fantastic and the guys have such admiration and respect for him, they've known Johan for this long. They've known Vasilevsky for years. They've been through those championship grinds with Vasy. They've been through those embarrassing moments with Vasy. They've just been through all levels of championship with this guy. But also, I think the big thing too, and I think I mentioned it with you guys a couple weeks ago, is that when I was talking to Braden Coburn when he first, in the beginning of the season, he was talking about how the defense has to change their signage and their communication when you have a different goaltender back there. And to have a goaltender that's only been with the team for a second, they have to dumb everything down to about 5 signals. So now they get back in their comfort zone of having the vast amount of signals and communications that Vasy knows without there being any extra communication. So that's going to bring more confidence to a defense because now they're all on the same page. They can rely back on that one communication that they love to go to. So like a guy like Victor Hedman is so orthodox and, you know, it's very special to play with him. There's probably a certain signal that he likes to use that he's kind of had to take off the table with Johansson being back there or even Tompkins without the P. So now having that back, I think is going to change and level up the vibe in this team and the defense, which has struggled tremendously.
And so now we got Colorado tonight, right, over there in Denver. So what are some of the, I know you do a lot of stuff with the betting. What are your best bets for us tonight, and set this one up for us?
Oh, of course it's Kucherov. You got to grab him for over 1.5 points, I think it is, over at DraftKings, because coming off of a 6-point night in just multi-point games that he's had so consistently, he's going to level up versus a team that has a lot of offensive power. This team also has a speedster in Nate McKinnon, which when they're trying to slow down any teams that have a lot of speed, they cycle the puck a lot, which is going to bring a guy like Brandon Hagel into the mix. Hagel has some of the most high danger shot opportunities as well as scoring chances for this team. Take him for a point as well. So I've got Kuch, I've got Hagel. They're going to need some ferocity though. They're going to need some physicality to kind of slow down the Rantanens. Ross Colton's kind of sitting top of the charts for the Avs right now with penalty minutes. Fluster and draws, penalties, but guys that I'm going to count on to kind of do that and pick up points in that aspect are going to be Tanner Deneau. And Tyler Mott, I think, is just due for more action. He's been so close to creating momentum swings for this team, kind of getting some breakaway options, kind of helping create rushes and stuff. So if I'm looking at point guys for tonight, it's going to be Kucherov, it's going to be Hagel, it's going to be Deneau, and it's going to be Mott.
I love that. Are there any trends in hockey betting that have been hot this year? Last year it was, plus I think it was 1.5 goals in the first period was like running at like 80%. It was ridiculous, especially in Lightning games. And this year for football, it's been primetime unders, like is absolute lock. Any great trends in hockey that we can take advantage of, make a little money?
A lot of them have kind of been the over and first periods. First periods have come out a little hot, then things kind of stale out, then they ramp back up in the third, and that's been a bit consistent across the league. And it's funny because last season for Johnny Lazarus, it was always the 1 goal under for the first period because of how high the compete was. Now the goals are getting through, goalies are adjusting, defenses are adjusting, and then things kind of stale out in that second period. So I would take the over in first periods, especially for high offensive power teams. So when you're looking at a matchup like this tonight, you're talking about two teams that post majority of their shots and goals in the first period, and I think that should be a good over.
I love that. All right, how was your Thanksgiving? Did you have some oxtail?
I did. And I made sure my parents are going to make some again soon so that you can try some. But I ate all the things. My sisters just left yesterday, so we were all together for an extended amount of time. Grandma tried to pull a few tricks on everybody this year, but the music was too loud to entertain her for too long. So I think she got mad at us because there was like a whole photo shoot, and she claims that she wasn't invited to the photo shoot. But since when Grandma needs an invitation to stand in a
exactly.
picture, so that was probably the most family drama, and it didn't last very long.
She got her English back? Did she get her English back?
Yeah, she decided to start speaking English again. Yes. We did all get ripped for our us not taking advantage of the many languages we grew up around. And she is upset that we're not dual citizens for Venezuela. And our parents are just like, it's so hostile over there. Why is that even something we would try to do at the moment? So she's just kind of like, yeah, she's still.
We're gonna have to get Granny on the show. I think we need to get Granny on the show one day.
Wow, you guys would be in for a treat. Yeah. You would be in for a treat, and it depends on which version of her. She might come on here and be French.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That'd be fantastic. And give us some betting advice in French. That'd be great. So how did the non-hockey talk go? Did the guys could they even do it? Could they even speak?
This was the funniest thing. And for a minute I had to judge my maturity because I was laughing so hard at it, but so were the guys. So I got a video of Stamkos picking up on Anthony Cirelli answering my question. So then I widened the camera and I had Stammer do it too. And I was like, you want to try it? And they're there. At first, Cirelli thought that he couldn't say puck. So I was like, you're allowed to say puck, but you can't say east-west. You cannot say pucks deep. You cannot say north to west or 200 foot of hockey. They could not figure out how to describe a play without using any of those things. It was spectacular. Then Cirelli started calling the stick wood. So the game coach chimed in and goes, wood? What kind of wood? And they were just getting so confused on so many different things.
Where can we see this video? Is that on your Twitter timeline? I got to see this video.
Yes, it's on Twitter. I thought about retweeting it before the game just to continue to give everybody some laughs. But I got Hagel to do it, Cirelli to do it, and Stamkos to do it. I wanted Nick Paul because he's the one that really just is all hockey jargon when he speaks. And he does it so fast, too. And it's always the same thing. But he's yelling in the background trying to guide the guys, which was funny. So I'll repost it so you can see it. I'll also send it to
I want to retweet that today. Absolutely, 100%. That'd be too fun.
Yes.
All right. Well, Kasey, always great catching up with you. Tell everybody how they can get your content.
Thank you, guys. Love being here every week. It's at the Sports Case, Kase. I always post a breakdown of things to consider ahead of each game, as well as best bets over at BetQL. And then starting this week, today, actually, I'll have top goal scorers for each game that I'm predicted for best bets, point guys, power play guys, and goaltending saves. That's also another good trend that's sticking out so far. So at the Sports Case, Kase.
All right. Great stuff, Kasey. Appreciate you. We'll talk to you soon. Yeah. Thanks. All right, Kasey Hudson right there. All right, we'll take a quick break here. We'll come back on the other side. We'll get into some heavy college football. We may have that Baker sound for you as well. We'll see where it goes. And if you got anything you want us to talk about or hit up the comment section on Facebook, on YouTube, or at FanStreamJP, any of our social medias. We'll try and answer those for you on air. Quick break. We're brought to you by the great folks at the Gold and Diamond Source. Hey, it is time for the holidays, and the best deals are at the Gold and Diamond Source. Get the most for your money at the Gold and Diamond Source. They have the largest selection of engagement rings, the largest selection and prices of all jewelry. It's like a jewelry superstore. It's all there for you at the Gold and Diamond Source, 3800 Olmsted Road, and always online at thegoldendiamondsource.com. Back in 3. Stay with us. Tired of those stuffy, overpriced sports bars? Well, come join the fun at the Patio in South Tampa and watch your favorite football teams under the stars in a tropical paradise. It's a unique setting with huge wood decks beneath the trees, and don't worry, they have an inside AC bar with all your favorite bar games as well. The Patio has all the NFL and UFC sports packages. It's home to the Tampa Gator Club and the Bills Mafia, but all fans are welcome. Hey, my FSU buddies love to watch the Noles at the Patio. It's also home to a great happy hour weekdays. $5 White Claw vodka and $5 White Claw seltzers. $1 off all beer and wine from 3 to 7:30 off their already low prices. And every Friday happy hour, join us for Football Friday. It's our live broadcast from 5 to 7 o'clock with tons of specials. The fan mic for you to join the show. We'll have some swag and some ticket giveaways and more. So come out for the live broadcast 5 to 7 every Friday at the Patio and come watch football in a tropical paradise. 421 South McDill, just a few blocks south of Kennedy. Everyone meets at the Patio. JP here for the Geddes Gordon Real Estate Group and our good friend Jane Geddes. Folks, simply put, there is nobody like Jane. Jane is a former LPGA two-time major championship winner. She was also vice president of talent relations at WWE. She also has a law degree from Stetson. So if Jane can drain a 10-footer to win the U.S. Open and stare down Hulk Hogan in the boardroom, you want Jane on your real estate team to not only negotiate the best deal, but find you the perfect home or investment property. And when you work with the Geddes Gordon Group, you become part of the real estate family and get concierge services that include expertly staging, marketing, and preparing your home for sale. Advice on golf properties. Hey, you might even get some golf tips. Many of their clients become friends long after the sale or purchase is completed. It's all part of the deal. So if you're looking for that perfect home or investment property or trying to get top dollar for your home, go with Jane Geddes and the Geddes Gordon Group, because there's nobody like Jane. Call 813-485-6808 or go to geddesgordon.kw.com. That's GEDDES Gordon.kw.com or call 813-485-6808.
Have any old coins sitting around the house? Well, the Gold and Diamond Source will purchase a variety of different types of coins and bullion. Their gold buying program includes sterling silver, silver, platinum, and watches. They also accept unusual pieces that other jewelry stores do not, such as gold bars and sterling silver flatware. The list of items they do accept is far more extensive than those they don't, so check it out. While you're there, you can check out the largest collection of any family-owned jewelry store in the country, especially with summer coming to an end. The holidays are right around the corner. Never too early to start your holiday shopping, especially if you're planning on getting engaged or have any birthdays or anniversaries coming up. Come on in and find out what buying jewelry should be like with an expert staff of gold and diamond jewelry enthusiasts. And the best part, they treat you like family. And if you're worrying about price, don't. The Gold and Diamond Source has something for everyone's budget. They even have a layaway. If you stop in and get your favorite piece now, you can have it paid off by Christmas. Plus, you can even finance your purchase with 0% interest for up to 5 years, and you can get a $5,000 diamond for only $83 a month. It's the greatest folks in the world, Julie and Steve Weintraub, the Gold and Diamond Source, 3800 Olmerton Road, always online at thegoldendiamondsource.com.
JP here for my good friends at Italiano Insurance, and they did it again. Once again, Italiano Insurance stepping up with the best customer service. I was in a bind. My old insurance company, my auto insurance, jacked up my rates, so I called Charity at Italiano Insurance, and she stayed till 9:30 at night until she got my insurance done. And guess what? She searched all these companies for me. I didn't do the work. She did. Saved me $1,000 on my annual premium. $1,000, folks. That's real money. And that's what you get at Italiano Insurance. Great customer service. And here's another note for you, by the way, with hurricane season up. 40% of people in Florida are underinsured. That means if you have something happen during a hurricane and you need replacement costs, you're going to get 40% less than you deserve. Can't let that happen. Call the folks at Italiano Insurance and get them to help you out in both those regards. It will save you money and keep you insured properly. That's 813-877-7799. Great folks in the community, been doing it for over 60 years. Italiano Insurance, 813-877-7799.
All right. Well, Fitz the mortgage guy did it again. A listener heard his ad, was going to another big bank, but called Scott Fitzgerald at American Mortgage Services of Tampa, and Fitz saved him $618 on his monthly payment. Are you kidding me? Folks, that's big money. Rates are going up, they're going down, they're going all over the place. Scott will shop your loan and save you lender fees and get the best rates. Email him, scott@amstampa.com, or call 813-294-7595. That's Fitz the mortgage guy. Lots of stuff going on right now, and these rates are going all over the place. You need somebody knowledgeable in the market that will work hard for you and get you the best deal. That's my man, Scott. He's done 3 loans for me, done thousands of loans for local folks here, works with a lot of the coaches and players in the area. He's the guy. 813-294-7595, or go to scott@amstampa.com.
Let's go. Right now, back to the show with JP.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show here. Brought to you by the great folks at the Patio. Great place to watch all games, including tonight's Monday Night Football matchup. So head on down there. Great happy hours. They've got a lot of fun events going on. It was packed this weekend for the FSU Florida game. Great atmosphere. Always fun to watch games at the Patio. Outside and inside areas. Great staff over there. Great prices. Not those stuffy sports bar $14 beer prices. Not at the Patio. Great folks over there. Head on over 421 South McDill. right about 3 blocks south of Kentucky. Super fun place to watch games. All right, I just saw that Mike Elko has been hired by Texas A&M. Their former defensive coordinator had such a great run at Duke. And this coming after Mark Stoops was announced as the next head coach on Saturday night after Kentucky upset Louisville at Louisville, which Louisville gave that game away, not very good. But then the fan base revolted against hiring a guy who was 35 and 55 in SEC play. And I'm like, well, that's Kentucky. They don't have a lot of the great advantages of Texas A&M. I didn't think it would be a bad hire at all. But evidently the A&M fans are used to a much higher level of coaching.
This is ridiculous. That was absolutely ridiculous. Why are it's so laughable, like how this program is so out of touch with what they are. I'm so tired about hearing how this is the third best job in the SEC or whatever. Like, I'm so sick of it. The expectations for this program are ridiculous. Clearly they are for the fan base. Mark Stoops, do you people understand how bad Kentucky was for years? For years before Mark Stoops got there. And I think in total, he's 73 and 64. He just qualified for his 8th consecutive bowl game. 8 consecutive bowl games at Kentucky in the big bad SEC. That's Mark Stoops right there. And he's got 2 10-win seasons to go along with it. Like, yes, everybody wants to make the joke of, he's good enough to win 7 games and everything. Yeah, at Kentucky. Like, who else was doing it this consistent at Kentucky?
Nobody ever.
Not many. And by the way, I say this as I like the Mike Elko hire. This doesn't change the fact that I love Mike Elko, but my point is, if you're not okay with Mark Stoops, how are you convincing yourself that you're okay with Mike Elko? Like, what's the difference there? I like both.
No, I agree with you totally. And look, and the way that went down, of course, everybody was reporting that Stoops was going to get the job because people on the inside leaked it to them. And by the way, this happens when you're doing reporting.
Well, the verbiage is the one thing you have to go to, because I think the verbiage was they're targeting. Like, they're targeting. There was nothing about
the last minute, barring last minute disaster, he's going to be the next coach. And this is the way these things go down, because what happens is the people that are making the hires or the big time boosters put it out there sometimes as a trial balloon. Remember the whole Greg Schiano at Tennessee thing? Oh yeah,
the fans got that out of there.
Yeah, and I think the athletic director did that. He went to his local media and said, "Okay, this is good. We think we're gonna, we're almost there with Stoops to put it out there as a trial balloon to see how the fan base took it." And they didn't take it well.
Did you see Mark Stoops' statement that he put on Twitter at 1:02 in the morning?
I was just reading it. Yeah, after celebrating this great win with my players like family.
I knew in my heart that I couldn't leave the University of Kentucky right now. I mean, I don't know if I buy that necessarily. He makes it sound like he got the offer and it was right there and he was going to take it, but then they beat Louisville and all of a sudden I realized, man, I can't go. Like, I don't know if that's usually how it works. I think that was a PR statement more than anything.
Hell yeah, you don't think Mark Stoops wanted all those resources at Texas A&M? As compared to what he's working with in Kentucky? Are you effing kidding me?
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing, though. Texas A&M has unrealistic expectations, and if you can't improve upon being an 8-win program, then they are going to round up all the money they can, and they are going to fire you and send you on your merry way. Yeah, Mark Stoops has been at Kentucky for a decade. By the way, he's making $9 million. He got a bump in his salary a couple years ago. He's making $9 million. He's extended through June of 2031. Okay, Mark Stoops can sit at Kentucky, win 7-8 games every 5 years, pull out a 10-win season out of nowhere, and he's never going to be on the hot seat. So, like, if you're Mark Stoops, what is your incentive to leave Kentucky?
You can win a national championship at A&M. Look at the roster they have right now. Like, they've got a ton of 4 and 5.
When have they proven that?
Well, that's because they hired the wrong coaches. Jimbo Fisher was a disaster. Kevin Sumlin was a disaster. You could still recruit there, and you're gonna have a lot more NIL money than you had at Kentucky. a lot better facilities than you had at Kentucky, a lot better.
I get it,
you'll
but
be
that's
able
a
to have at
big.
Kentucky.
It's still a big risk for Mark Stoops to take when he can stay where he's at. He's going to make all this money until June of 2031, and unless Kentucky just starts winning 2-3 games like they were before him, he's never going to be on the hot seat.
I agree, but I'm not, I'm not taking that as a sincere. I don't believe that. I think the job was taken away from him, and then he came back to his family. He was all on that hot chick who had it all out there throwing it. He was running, he was leaving his kids. He was down the road. And then all of a sudden,
I will say,
he went off with another guy.
I will say, by the way,
I love you, honey. I'm coming home.
Yeah, I will say, by the way, like in the overall scheme of all these head coaching hires right now, like Jonathan Smith goes to Michigan State. I like that hire a lot. Elko obviously leaving Duke. There's like all this like pushback from these fan bases about the way that these guys conduct themselves when they leave the programs. This is a big time business, man. And there's so many people that are reporting on this. It gets out just like that. You can't keep it under wraps. As much as everyone wants to live in this fantasy world that every player, all 100 players part of the program are going to be told face-to-face, hey, I'm leaving before this stuff gets out. It doesn't work like that. No. It never has. It never will. Get off these coaches' backs a little bit about the way they leave the program. Yeah. This is business. It's never going to be pretty. Just the way the business works and the big money, it's never going to be pretty. Speaking of not pretty, and I wanted to just mention this because I've been hit up by Gator fans and FSU fans about this. We talked about FSU's performance. Florida's performance was, I thought they played hard. I thought the young kids played really, really hard. I also thought they played dirty and undisciplined. The spitting incident that's an embarrassment. Did you see the player like slapping his coach? Yeah. Trey out Wilson, of the way, going right back onto the field. Slapping his coach as he was trying to be restrained by a coach. That's a bad look. The cheap shot, the head hunting on Tate Rodemaker late in the game, that's a bad look. One of the players shooting a bird, their defensive coordinator losing his mind on the sidelines. They said Gator fans that are hitting me up going, we're undisciplined. It's an embarrassment. It feels a lot like the Willie Taggart era did at FSU. Where it's not just bad football. You're embarrassed by the way your team plays and how they play. And they lost that game because of a lot of undiscipline. They have lost a lot of games, honestly, because of Billy Napier. Yeah. I hate to say that because I've been preaching to give this guy time, but me too. At a program like this, you lose back-to-back seasons like this of being under 500. He is so fortunate, and he has to keep it together. But he is so fortunate that he has the number 4 recruiting class coming in next year and the top quarterback in DJ Lagway. He is so fortunate because that, to me, is all he's hanging on right now. That's all he's got. It might be this team was 5-2. This team was 5-2 at one point. And I know the schedule was not easy at the end of it, but you just got to win one game. And I'm sure there was one in there that was probably winnable. Arkansas, right? You got to win. Can't lose that game. Can't lose that game. So. Yeah. No, I've been the same way with Billy Napier. I'm like, you got to give him some chance. But as it was, you don't just look at the wins and losses, right? You got to look at how you're playing. And you saw when Willie, the way FSU was playing, the way they were acting, how undisciplined they were. Right. That was the final straw. That it's just the culture was bad. It was really, really bad. And I'm hearing this from Gator fans, like it's really, really bad, and it showed on the field. And they lost. That game was a winnable game for Florida, if not for their undisciplined mistakes that they made, a lot of them. And so, and it's not the first time that they've done that this year. So I think at this point, but again, it's late in the game in terms of recruiting. I mean, you've got the first signing coming up here really, really soon, early December. You're going to have to get almost everybody. And I wouldn't be shocked if he brings in this class that Florida, after he does that, doesn't make a move. I wouldn't be shocked by that. And maybe they got their eye on somebody who could come in, and knows how to win games in the SEC. Well, just to be honest, like, and I know Billy Napier had coached at, I think, Alabama, and he had some of that track record, but this is Florida, okay? Yeah. Could they do, if they had a head coaching availability tomorrow, you think they could do better than the coach that came from Louisiana? Not taking anything away from Billy Napier, but you'd like to think. Mike Norvell came from Memphis. Memphis is a couple steps ahead of Louisiana. Okay.
Would agree.
I would agree with that. You just feel like they could do a little bit better if it got to that point. So next year he's under a lot of pressure. Like it's like the patience is going to start to wear thin. You can't have 3 consecutive losing seasons at Florida and survive it. He's got to win games next year, but their schedule next year. I mean, the fact that they're even playing Miami, they got to play UCF at a conference. Like credit to them. I love when teams go out there and take the initiative of doing it. But it might be rough, again, for Florida, depending on how quick they can get this turned around. The portal's going to be a big deal, obviously. So next year, it's a big year for Billy Napier in that program.
If he makes it that far.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be shocked.
I'll tell you a program who is establishing a big culture, and I wanted to give them more than just a little mention like we did earlier, and that is USF.
Yeah.
I think they've earned it. The way they played in a game that you had to have against Charlotte, they just put their foot down on that team. And they never let up. And Byron Brown played fantastic football. I think he's the first USF quarterback to throw for 3,000 yards in a single season. And he rushed for like 800 something else as well, responsible for more than 30 touchdowns. Phenomenal season. We're not questioning that culture anymore. And that's exactly what Byron Brown said after the game. You know, he was asked about, what's changed, and he said the culture. We expect to win. Simple as that. USF hasn't had that in a long time, and they do. So hats off to Alex Golish and that entire staff and those players.
The Alabama game was, Auburn, tip of the cap to Hugh Freeze in Auburn. DJ James, what are you doing? The corner in this, it's 4th and 30. Jaden Milroe drops back. His foot's almost on the 40-yard line. And you're playing a guy man-to-man like he's running down the sideline. He's not even looking at the quarterback. Dude, what are you doing? What are you doing? Turn around and play the freaking football. How do you allow that to happen? If I'm an Auburn fan, it's been a tough year. But Jiminy Christmas, that makes your year. All he has to do is knock that down. That to me, the prayer of Jordan Hare, right? That will go down. The kick is 10th anniversary of the
10-year
kick
anniversary.
Six. I think Alabama got their payback. I think they got their payback in this game. Wow. How could you lose the game like that?
It's crazy. They play so inspired. Because you knew it. It's just there's just certain games in the country. It doesn't matter if Auburn's having a down year and Alabama is still Alabama. It just doesn't matter. Like Gus Malzahn beat Alabama, I think 3 times. Like in the Iron Bowl, you just never, ever know. Like, right. I know everybody talks about Michigan and Ohio State like that's the greatest rivalry and everything. Me personally, I'd rather watch the Alabama-Auburn game every year. I know that the Michigan-Ohio State gets more pub nationally, and especially since it was 2 versus 3, but the Iron Bowl never lets me down.
Never.
And that's real hate, too. As much as everyone talks about Michigan-Ohio State, okay, people that are, if you're an Alabama fan and you're an Auburn fan, you don't get married, you don't live in the same household, you just don't do it. I love that rivalry. It never disappointed. That was a great game.
The Ohio State-Michigan game, I thought was underwhelming. It was dramatic, but I don't think those two teams are that good. I just don't. I know I'm maybe a little bit biased. I think the Big Ten is horribly overrated. And those two teams, I think either one, Michigan obviously has the chance to get in. I don't think they're going to fare very well in the and what are they, 3-7 in the playoff era? The Big Ten with a bunch
it's kind of funny. Isn't it funny that the Big Ten won the first playoff? Ohio State won. They haven't won a single national championship since, and they're 3-7 in the games. Yet every time we come around playoff time, we just immediately anoint their 2 best teams into the playoff every single year, no question. Right. But when Clemson's running the ACC and now Florida State, oh my goodness, so many questions about if they're playoff worthy. It's so, again, college football, I don't know why this has turned into this. I really don't. I don't understand for the life of me. The Big Ten next year is going to be fantastic because they're adding juice and teams that are fun to watch into the mix that play offense.
That'll change how the Big Ten plays football. Thank God.
You're going to have to adapt. Like the Iowa, I will bet money Iowa is not going 10-2 next year in that conference. No way.
Nope. And if they were somehow to get FSU and Clemson in the Big Ten, And I'm not sure I want, as much as there'd be some interesting parts of that. I just don't think it's just not a great culture fit. The Big Ten is just.
I mean, since you already have it guaranteed that the ACC, if you win the ACC going forward, you're going to get into the playoffs. Since that's guaranteed, I don't know. Maybe there's not an incentive to leave anymore.
I don't know. It's just, watching that game with the ACC refs the other night, that stupid ass call on Patrick Payton, the roughing the passer. It's just, what are you doing? And these ACC refs are just awful and have been awful forever. And it's just, it reeks of a stupid ass basketball conference. The FSU, they just don't belong there. They ain't Clemson belong in the SEC.
You talk about putting yourself in the best chance to make the playoff moving forward. Staying put is the move.
Oh, yeah.
Just being the powerhouse.
No question about it. I do not disagree. But will the other teams pass you in terms of, revenue, making that much money?
Yeah.
No. So, but I think there'll be some more creative ways to make revenue as the years go on, not just, starting your own streaming network, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
There could be ways to do it. But hey, a lot more. I wanted to mention the Heisman race. Jaden Daniels had another freaking phenomenal game, and he rallied his team to beat Texas A&M. He's my Heisman winner. Who you got?
It's tough because Jaden Daniels is not going to get that conference championship. Now, Lamar, he won the Heisman the same way, so It's not like it can't be done. But it seems like there's a lot of push for Bo Nix right now, and I understand. Yeah. And if Bo Nix goes and beats Washington and plays his ass off like he just did against Oregon State, I think Bo Nix has a big opportunity. I was on Penix, and Penix, I think if he beats Washington, he's probably going to go to the ceremony, but I don't think Penix has played his best football down the stretch, whereas Bo Nix has gotten better. Jaden Daniels has been fantastic. I think I'm probably leaning Jaden Daniels or Bo Nix at this point for that.
Well, Jaden Daniels had 50 total touchdowns and just 4 interceptions in the SEC. Bo Nix has 37 touchdowns and 2 interceptions in the defensive challenge Pac-12. So I don't even think it's a race. Jaden Daniels is the Heisman Trophy winner. To do that in the SEC,
it's impressive.
It's insane. It's with the corners and the pass rushers that you have in the SEC. The way he makes them look silly. No, I don't. 3,800 yards passing, 1,100 yards rushing, 50 total touchdowns. Come on. And they lost 3 games. I don't give. Look who they lost to and how they lost. They were all tight games, and all those teams are probably in the playoffs.
Except the Florida State game, that wasn't pretty tight.
Yeah. So he's my Heisman winner. All right, great stuff, Nick. Great job today. Thanks to all our commenters, and of course, thanks to Matt Matera and Kasey Hudson for joining us. If you missed anything, you can always catch it on YouTube, our YouTube network. Please like and subscribe on YouTube. Also at our FanStream, sports.com, and all of our other social media. We'll be back tomorrow with more fun and frivolity. We'll see you then.